Chapter 52:10. It was only when Shang realized this that he returned to the primitive universe from the long river of time and space, and has been retreating to comprehend the origin of the primitive universe, creating his own cosmic secret. Brother Long Yi, these people are all emperors accumulated in countless epochs in my primitive universe anyway, and I hope his men will show mercy. Although he is not optimistic about these people, Shang still misses his old feelings, and now he is fighting on other people's territories. Even if Long Yi kills a group, he has nothing to say. When Long heard this, he immediately smiled. Don't worry, I won't embarrass them, but I have to change places for them to make trouble. These inheritors, Qixin Temple has no right to kill them privately, especially Yanxian and Dianxian. Even True Spirit cannot erase them without permission. Shang nodded and didn't say much. There are many internal worlds in the Temple of Qixin, which Shang has already realized. By the way, the inheritance bestowed by Master True Spirit requires going to the great world of reincarnation. It is quite dangerous there. If you are not in a hurry, I will put these emperors first. Brother Long Yi, do business first, am not in a hurry. Shang Wei smiled slightly. Long Yi grinned, and secretly sighed that the ultimate emperor was different. Looking at the rabble crowd below, what is the use of this group of emperors? It is not as good as the emperor born in the Temple of Qixin. There are many emperors born in the Qixin Temple. There are hundreds of his bloodthirsty continents alone, and there are many other big worlds. It is just that the Qixin set the rules and inheritors to choose from the outside world. But he really didn't see the good thing about the outside emperor. Could it be for the ultimate emperor? The odds are too small. Long Yi shook his head, no longer thinking about it. His figure sank and fell into the vortex of fighting. Set. Dragon 1 lightly said a certain word, and the turbulent battlefield directly stopped. Even the Fifth Order Emperor couldn't move. The Eternal Tower of Infinite might also quietly stopped in the void. The aura was suppressed to the extreme. What's going on? The strong inside the Ion Tower was at a loss, unable to move his body. Look, it's the messenger from the Temple of Qixin. The sharp-eyed Qishui Walker shouted. Everyone looked around. The goal was achieved, and the messenger was forced out. But the strength of this messenger was a bit unbelievable. They can still bear the methods of the Fifth Order Emperor strong. But now this my envoy has suppressed them, and the Fifth Order Emperor, as soon as he took action, and even suppressed the positive film void, making them unable to move. Master God. The Fifth Order native emperor bowed his head respectfully. In the bloodthirsty continent, Long Yi is a god, and no one can defy him. Long Yi's face was cold at this time, and his attitude toward Shang was different from the previous one. He didn't even move his hands. Just a move in his heart released the numerous indigenous emperors suppressed in the Ion Tower. This is the power of the Sixth Order top emperor. Even the eternal treasure cannot defy his ideas. You all go back first. Long glanced at the crowd and said coldly. Many aboriginal emperors didn't dare to say anything. They still wanted to complain in front of the Lord. Yes, everyone retreated, including the Fifth Order Emperor. A dispute ended in this way, and Long Yi personally mediated from it. Long Yi didn't bother to talk nonsense with these emperors of the primitive universe, and directly moved them to the primordial realm. If these emperors were recruited by the Divine Hall in the future, they would also enter his command. Now is not the time to clean them up. There is an opportunity hidden here, enough for you to comprehend here. The dragon paused for a while, and then said, by the way, this is the trial world of your primordial universe, Dian Immortal. It's not like a bloodthirsty continent. Don't be presumptuous here, or you will fall. Everyone had just fallen into shape. They were all taken aback when they heard Long Yi's words, and then felt the weight of the last sentence. This was not a threat to them, but a piece of advice. As for the trial of Dian Immortal, although they were a little curious, they didn't care too much. Since there is a heritage here, and it can benefit everyone, that's enough. Thank you, messenger. Qishui Xingzhe looked respectful and bowed slightly. The rest of the people reacted and bowed together to thank you. After all, they have just seen the strength of this messenger. Those Fourth Order Peak Emperors are very clear that the strength of this messenger is definitely more than the existence of the Fifth Order Emperor. And the peak powerhouse is much stronger than all the powerhouses in the original universe combined. This kind of character, even in the long river of time and space, is extremely rare. And now they can see it, and they dare to run wild on his chassis. If he died 100 times in the outside world, fortunately, this is the temple of the gods. Okay, let's practice here. The specific arrangements are waiting for me to inform. Long waved his hand, and then threw a token. The top of it shows the rank of Dian immortals on all primitive stars. This is a primitive the overall ranking of Jie Dianxian. The ranking above is divided into two colors. One is green and the other is gray. Green means being alive, and gray means having fallen. At first, everyone didn't pay attention to even if you explored in the secret realm of the primitive universe. There is still the risk of falling, and there will be battles within the big world. For example, in the ancient era of Desiyu, the Big Death, the corpse of Yinxian, can form a continent. At first, everyone didn't care too much. After the ranking on the token was completely unfolded, they were stunned. The gray names in the entire ranking are 10 times the previous green names. This representative, the Dian immortal who entered the Qixin temple, has fallen 90%, and now only 10% is left. My envoy, are you sure that the gray names are all the fallen Dian immortals? Someone asked incredulously. Long Yi nodded slightly, and said in a cold voice, yes, it has fallen. So you have to cherish the moment. The battle of Dian Immortal is much more cruel than you. He was right. Dian Immortal has been fighting for less than 10 years now. But the Temple of Forbidding God hasn't given anything in these 10 years, which has reduced these Dian Immortals by 90%. These emperors did nothing, stirred up the situation in the bloodthirsty continent and acted arbitrarily. And they got a heritage of great opportunity in the long river of time and space. You are here to practice well. Just after Long Yi's words fell, the figure disappeared into the void, leaving everyone behind. However, just after he disappeared, the void outside was a meal. 2 fifth-order emperors appeared above, glanced at the people below, and gradually disappeared in the void. These two are the messengers of the Azure Dragon Palace, responsible for guarding these emperors, which is what Long Yi promised. Long Yi returned to the bloodthirsty continent at this time, and walked towards the merchant who was waiting for him. Business opportunities are even greater, but these have nothing to do with others. Well, why is the ranking so low? A fourth-order emperor looked at the ranking list in confusion. https:// 1 second to remember Acehang Novel Network. Mobile version reading URL. Chapter 52:11. He is the father of God Emperor Mo Long, the top emperor of Tier 4, and his strength is very powerful. Now that he saw his son at the bottom, he felt very uncomfortable, especially now that all the emperors were present. The many emperors who hadn't cared about this ranking in the first place quickly began to compare them. Brother Mo, I heard that many of your treasures were given to your precious son. Why didn't I find him on this list? Haha, my disciple ranks pretty well. His original star ranks in the top 3, and the total rank is also in the top 100. Let's get busy. Some people are happy, others are sad. The father of God Emperor Mo Long and the Tao ancestor of the Great Dream Realm both had dark faces. One is that his son is at the bottom of the ranking, and the other is that his disciples and grandchildren are almost destroyed. Everyone only paid a little attention to the ranking, and soon fell into the foot of this majestic mountain. Moyin Mountain, as the name suggests, a magic sound surrounds the mountain. This magic sound can make the emperors resist a little bit, and eat their willpower all the time. This is the so-called chance. Look up. Everyone looked up, and a magnificent original avenue was erected on the top of the magic mountain, exuding a powerful atmosphere. The power of this origin is too strong. It can be comparable to the origin of our primitive universe. And such a powerful origin has been abandoned on this mountain. A top emperor couldn't help feeling. The origin of the primitive universe has been swallowed by the taboo demon lord. Now the remaining origin is incomplete, and the origin avenue on the demon mountain is incomplete. But even if it is incomplete, it is a universe origin avenue, and it is in such a small place. We must know that the origin of the original universe is so large that it covers the entire universe. Unconsciously, everyone started to move into the magic mountain. At the moment they stepped into the demon mountain, an existence whose hands and feet were bound by iron chains suddenly opened his eyes. A pair of scarlet eyes exuded evil aura. If Jian Wushuang saw it, he would be absolutely shocked. That aura is very similar to the evil aura on Jian Wushuang's body. But the aura exuded by this existence is not complete. Just like that incomplete source, it's all incomplete. Jiejia. It's a delicious cultivator. His eyes turned, and the evil aura on his body boiled the moment he smelled it. The puppet of the Vermilion Bird Palace actually sent the practitioners to the Magic Mountain? He is a little puzzled. Having been suppressed in Demon Mountain, we don't know how many reincarnations are. The body collapsed back then, and the last swallowed essence fell into the Temple of Qishan, and the consciousness he had just formed was suppressed in Demon Mountain. He hadn't smelled the cultivator's breath since the ancient times. In the entire Temple of Qishan, apart from the old bacon who guarded the spirit, there were only a group of puppets and indigenous practitioners. Although he has been suppressed, he also knows that the native practitioners of the Temple of Qishan rarely cross boundaries, let alone come to the Magic Mountain. Could it be? The eyes of this existence shrank, and deep in his memory, there was a fragment of memory that came from the body of the year. He also knows one or two secrets of the Qishan Temple, just to screen the inheritors, but after so many reincarnation epochs, he has never seen the inheritors appear. Could it be that the cultivator breath he just smelled is the Qishan Temple the inheritor? However, the number of smells is very large. At least there are tens of thousands of powerful gods. Such a group of gods suddenly appeared in the Demon Mountain, and they must have attempted. Although he was tied to the top of the mountain, the evil aura of his body could condense an avatar. But his avatar could reach the mountainside at most, and then it would collapse. Delicious cultivators, I hope you can enter the mountainside. The evil existence closed its eyes, but there were hundreds of hideous clones appearing outside the body. These clones all have the battle power of the Fifth Order Emperor on the top of the mountain, but the farther they leave the body, the weaker their strength, and their combat power is entirely based on the swallowing origin of the body, although they are the Fifth Order combat power. But there is still a gap between the Fifth Order Emperor, and it can only be regarded as the threshold of the Fifth Order Emperor. The origin alone is comparable to the Fifth Order Emperor, but the Fifth Order Emperor is not only powerful in the origin. Their divine bodies, treasures, secrets, and unique skills can all stack up combat power. Some ordinary Fifth Order Emperors have a top eternal arcana. Combat power can be doubled, and directly become the pinnacle Fifth Order Emperor. However, there is only one eternal treasure under the tens of thousands of emperors under the mountain, and he is also a Fourth Order Emperor. When these clones reach the mountainside, they can only maintain the strength of the Tier 4 peak, but they are almost enough to deal with these emperors. It is a pity that the strength of these emperors disappointed this evil existence, and there are probably not many who can reach the mountainside. At the foot of the Magic Mountain, the Ion has been put away, and the Wind and Rain Demon Lord and several other peak emperors revealed their true bodies, walking the creeping path at the foot of the Demon Mountain. The ones who walked in the forefront were naturally those peak powers, followed by the Fourth Order tops, such as Zhen Wuyang and Tong Tian Buddha. It's amazing every step I take. I feel that I have practiced for hundreds of millions of years. The immeasurable Buddha in the middle of the team endured the joy in his heart. Since they stepped into the Magic Mountain, the people in front have stopped talking and walked quietly on the small road. Although the Third Order Emperor in the middle walked very hard, he still clenched his teeth and persisted. The swallowing power invaded their origin, but also in his powerful will. Every time they took a step, their origin would be compressed by 1 point. This compression made them very painful, and could return to them. This kind of clear and bright perception has increased their perception of Tao more than 10,000 times. One after another aura flashed through their minds, making them feel more deeply about their own way. Lu Crow, who followed closely at the end of the Fourth Order Emperor, had an extremely broad heart at this time. Since being suppressed by the Ion, He secretly made a deal with Fengyu Demon Lord and followed Zhen Weiyang's footsteps to the Ion. After entering the Temple of Qixin, he was naturally released. Since he really stepped inside, he understood how stupid it was to practice in that outer temple. The outer hall where they are located is mixed with countless broken origins. The strongest is probably the Sixth-Order Emperor, but it is even more difficult for the broken Tao to become a Sixth-Order Emperor than to become the Lord of the Universe. The real overflow of that main hall is to cultivate more emperors and Dayan immortals who want to become the pinnacle powerhouses in the universe, or these treasures in the inner hall. For example, the magic mountain in front of you. Other emperors may not be able to feel it, but he has practiced the devouring Tao, and he can see that the origin of the Tao at the top of the mountain is the devouring origin. It's just that this source is much stronger than that of the sub-temple. This Maoyin mountain is simply a dojo for practicing the way of swallowing. Chapter 52:12. It's a pity that he has abandoned the way of devouring and converted to the way of desolation. Moreover, he also controlled the Tao of the great wilderness. Now he can't change the origin at all. He can only walk to the dark one by one. However, he believes that since there is a holy land in the Temple of Qixin that is specially suitable for cultivating the way of swallowing, then there must be a way of practicing desolation holy land. If his thoughts let the true spirit know, he might vomit blood. The magic mountain is tens of thousands of miles high, but this road up the mountain can be seen at a glance, and the distance is only 10,000 battles long. Shrinking the ground into an inch, this kind of supernatural power is very common in the Temple of Qixin, but in their eyes it is a great supernatural power. The distance between the foot of the mountain and the top of the mountain is 10,000 battles, and the distance of the mountainside is 5,000 battles. But now, there are already thousands of Tier 1 emperors who have stopped their bodies. They only walked a distance of about 100 zhang before they could not walk anymore. They could only stay cross-legged and stay in the distance to practice. Although it is only 100 battles away, it is much stronger in cultivation than the outside world. And there is also the origin of the mountain top to be understood. This kind of holy land, the primitive universe does not have it. Even if there is such a place in Hanoi in the long time and space, it will not be possible. These first-tier emperors are practicing here, although their way has come to an end. But with the blessings of this place, it is not impossible to break and then stand. Taking another step on the original path is a new realm, elevating the 5-rank Tao to the 4th-rank level. Although the process is as difficult as He Tao, no one has ever improved in the primitive universe outside. But here not necessarily. Although the second-order emperor has gone a lot farther than them, it is still very difficult to improve. The distance of the first 500 battles blocked thousands of emperors. Among the emperors of the primitive universe, half were first-order and second-order emperors, and half were emperors from 3rd to 4th order. As for the 5th-order emperors, there have been hundreds of them since ancient times. However, most of them are roaming in the long time and space of Hanoi outside the territory, and there are many 5th-order emperors who were only 4th-order emperors when they went out, and they have never returned to break through to become 5th-order emperors. There are still 10 5th-order emperors in the original universe, and they have either established their own power or left a certain inheritance. Will return from time to time. The other 5th-order emperors never go back, never come back. This time the Temple of Qixin was born. I am afraid that they will all return. The emperor and the strong can observe their hometown world through their origins. Every monarch and powerful person in the original universe has a great connection with the original source, and they can clearly feel the major events in the original universe. This time the Temple of Qixin was born. Even if no one notified them, they could still feel the great opportunity of the primitive universe. But it would take millions of years, or even hundreds of millions of years to come back. The day lilies will be cold by then. The emperors who have stepped into the Maoyin mountain are desperately improving their strength, so they are still in the mood to take care of those 5th-order emperors. Snapped. The immeasurable Buddha took one step and stayed for a long time, carefully comprehending. Every step made a steady increase in strength. Although every time I stepped out, my feelings became clearer, but after my own strength increased a little, it became more difficult to want to rise again. Already 1,000 feet, Wuliang Buddha raised his head and looked ahead. The Fourth Order Emperors who were faster than him were the fastest walking powerhouse among the Third Order Emperors. The current Third Order Emperor has all gone through 500 battles. He is the first powerhouse among the Third Order Emperors to take 1,000 battles. The hundreds of powerhouses in front of him are all Fourth Order Emperors. Now on this road, the fastest walkers are Finjia's several peak Fourth Order Emperors. They have already walked a distance of 3,000 battles, and then they stepped back. Every time they were extremely slow. Those who had more than 2,000 battles were Zhen Wuyang and Tongtian Buddha, as well as the father of God Emperor Mo Long, and the Taoist ancestor of the Great Dream Realm. They counted people walking at about the same speed, and they had reached a distance of 2,500 battles. On the contrary, Qishui Traveler, as a special being, as the darling of the origin of the universe, walks extremely slowly, having just reached a distance of 2,000 battles, side by side with most Tier 4 top emperors. Boundless Buddha's eyes were squinted, the corners of his mouth were smiling. He turned his head and looked down the mountain, then turned around and sat down cross-legged and began to practice. This scene made the other Tier 3 emperors stunned. Originally, they were surprised that the immeasurable Buddha was so strong and could follow the Tier 4 emperors, but now they have stopped, and it seems that they have reached their limit. They didn't know that immeasurable Buddha had reached the limit. Instead, they deliberately stopped and watched the people down the mountain, instead of enlightening, but stabilizing their minds. Immeasurable Buddha has already seen the beauty of Mayin Mountain. The biggest benefit here is not as simple as cultivation. Stabilizing the mind and tempering the will are second. Their greatest opportunity is to personally experience this magic mountain. Every step they take, they feel a strong pressure, and this pressure naturally comes from the magic mountain. The magic mountain gave them pressure, not to suppress their pace, but to penetrate their origins. He had a hunch that if he set foot on the top of the mountain, he would carry the entire magic mountain on his back. This is great freedom, great opportunity. Carrying up a mountain can be hundreds of millions of times more difficult than climbing a mountain. After the immeasurable Buddha has penetrated this point, he is not at all anxious. According to his calculations, the Third Order Emperor will be able to walk a distance of 3,000 battles when he is ascended to the extreme. Now, according to his state of mind and origin, he can do it. But for him, this is not enough. He wants to carry this magic sound mountain on his back. If this idea is to let the true spirit know, maybe you have to open another back door to bring this talent into the temple of Qishan in advance. Call. Old bald donkey, why are you following me all the time? Zhen Wuyang let out a foul breath, looked back at Tongtian Buddha, annoyed in his heart. This guy has slipped behind him since he got on the Mayin Mountain, has a step slower, and has kept a distance of a battle from him, never surpassing or falling. Good. True martial artist. You and I are adjacent to each other, so naturally we should get closer. Tongtian Buddha's skin smiled and squinted his eyes, his voice soft, which made him feel sick. But Zhen Wuyang had seen his methods, and obviously didn't take it. This old bald donkey is a master who eats people, and does not spit out bones. If you really want to believe his words, you won't know how to die in the end. Looking back at the 6 crows, this is the end of the cooperation with Tongtian Buddha. If he hadn't said a few good things in the wind and rain, the current 6 crows are really suppressed under the ion. Lu Crow and Dao Gong, who had the upper hand in the great wilderness, only survived now. Don't forget, you and I are in different forces. Are you not afraid that Qishui will trouble you? Zhen Wuyang sneered. Tongtian Buddha didn't care. He followed Zhen Wuyang's footsteps, took another step, and said calmly, I don't know the leader of Qishui very well. You and I have been neighbors for hundreds of millions of years. Chapter 52:13. Qishui Walker, who has been at the bottom of the Fourth Order Emperor, always feels that there is a thorn in his heart, which makes him very uncomfortable. Now even the ordinary fourth-order emperors have surpassed him a lot, which made him even more anxious. Obviously he is the darling of the origin of the universe, but now he has fallen so much. Although the emperor who succeeded in other special life harmony is not as strong as him, he is not too slow to walk. This made him very irritable. The opportunity was right in front of me, and as a result I couldn't live up to it. Damn it, this source of origin actually repels me. Qi Shui cursed secretly after clearing the cause. Not that he didn't work hard, but that the source of origin repelled him from the very beginning. What exactly is going on? Qi Shui wondered why he only rejected him. If he rejected the special beings, then the other special beings couldn't go so fast. The special life among the third-order emperors is now second only to the immeasurable Buddha, and has gone through 900 battles. If converted into strength, it is also a few ranks among the fourth-order emperors. Why he fell at the end of the fourth-order emperors? He is a fourth-order emperor of 10,000 times divine body. Even if he rejects this origin, he shouldn't go so slow. Qi Shui, who didn't know the reason, let out a long sigh, and could only stop, and it would be too reluctant to go further. So just accept it when you see it, right? Although he could still walk a few more steps while gritting his teeth, the more he went back, the harder he was. While resisting the repulsive force, the training effect was not as good as here. Except for Qi Shui Walker and some weak emperors, the entire team was constantly walking forward. Even some second-order emperors practiced for a while, stood up, and had to break the distance of 500 battles, which made Qi Shui even more uncomfortable. You can only close your eyes and comprehend that road. The deeper the enlightenment, the farther they will go, and the way they walk now is only a temporary one. They didn't know that hundreds of phantoms of Tier 4 emperors had gathered on the mountainside, and they were looking forward to these delicious foods eagerly. At the same time, Dian Immortal in the primitive world has entered a bottleneck period. The weak and small Dian Immortals hid in the mountains one after another, and they, who had accepted their fate, would no longer waste their lives to fight for the top 10,000 spots. Today only tens of thousands of Dian Immortals are left in the fight. Although the primordial star is not too large, it takes a year to make a circle in diameter. Of course, this is only the speed of the ordinary ninth revolution. If it is the peak power of the ninth revolution, it only takes 1 month to make a circle, and even in desperate circumstances, it can run a circle around the original star in 1 day. But normal patrol hunting, no one would do that. Especially at this time, many strong people on the primordial stars are beginning to retreat, because it is difficult to see Dian Immortal on the mountains or on the mainland, and the ranking has been completely solidified. When the Qishan Temple assigns personnel, there is still light calculation, and all the ninth turn consummated strong will not be assigned to a primitive star. If they are assigned together, the screening quality of other primitive stars will be reduced. Under Zhu Yi's control, there were only 2 half-step emperors on the strongest primordial star. This was to put a little pressure on the other half-step emperor, and let them compete for the first place. On the weak primordial star, there is not even half-step emperor. For example, the primordial star where Jian Wushuang is, there is only Wu Dao King, and there is no half-step emperor. According to the ranking of the Cosmic Gods and Demons list, the top 200 Dian Immortals of the Earth list are half-step emperors, and the 800 Dian Immortals of the first 1,000 to 200 are all Taoist powerful. This screening is not only for the first 1,000, but also the need for those originally weak Dian Immortals to gradually break through in this purgatory. Even if they don't have the strength of the Taoist monarch, they will eventually be selected by the Qishan Temple. This is why the Temple of Qishan will set up special rewards for fighting over tiers. What the Qishan Temple wants is not the strongest, but the great master with potential and willpower. Only those who can achieve the combination of these two are regarded as cosmic arrogances. The so-called strongest is nothing more than a half-step emperor. But if you can half-step the emperor, take another step to be comparable to the emperor. Then you will also be favored by Qishan Temple, and become one of the candidates. However, this threshold is too difficult. Among the 180 primordial stars, few have this potential. Among the 36 primordial stars in the Eastern Territory, the one that was established as the number 1 seed was only capable of suppressing a half-step emperor, and could not match the emperor. The Dayan immortal who can rival the emperor is truly invincible, and can fight against the First-Order emperor, and there is no enemy under the emperor. This number 1 seed was only temporarily set up by Zhu Yi. This is the first round of trials. Many potential Dayan immortals have not yet grown up. Just like the Hui Qing true spirit of the original star of Jiajia was optimistic about him, believing that the Dayan immortal would have great achievements in the future, and even hesitate to change the rules and give a pass to him. This transmission of inheritance caused another turmoil in the original star of Jiajia, which was still active, in an instant. A 9 primordial star feathered the continent. All the powerhouses on the entire continent have gathered outside the barrier where Hui Qing is. The 5 avenues are here, is followed by the first arrogant of the Ji family, Ji Chaoyang. And he is also the only one who can rival the Prince of Dao. His strength is extremely strong, and his background is also very strong. He travels the entire Eclosion continent by himself, hunting everywhere. The 7th-ranked demon monk Hui Qing is now in the barrier, and the rest of the top 10 powerhouses are all watching outside, waiting quietly. The many powerhouses ranked behind Hui Qing are still convinced, but the 6 people ranked in front of Hui Qing, but every one of them, they hate their teeth, and they can't wait to enter the enchantment again and cut Hui Qing and accept it by themselves. Inherit it. Unfortunately, I can't do it. I can only watch Hui Qing's breath rise step by step. At this time, the emerging continent unprecedented unity were waiting outside the barrier. No one did it, and no one dared to do it. The 5 great masters were all waiting here, and they didn't dare to make any trouble. Hui Qing's situation in the enchantment at this time is not as good as those outsiders imagined. On the contrary, his current situation is very bad, and even one mistake will kill Huang Quan. This inheritance was bestowed by the true spirit himself, and the preciousness is very precious. But the degree of danger to accept this inheritance is also terrifying. Observing others at this moment, not only the Dayan immortals from the outside world, but also Zhu Yi and Jinling are watching this inheritance grafting at the same time. The order Zhu Yi accepted was that as long as Hui Qing finished accepting the inheritance, the first stage of the primordial star trial would be opened, and the inheritance hall would be opened. But now it seems that it is very difficult for Hui Qing to accept this complete inheritance, and there is even a crisis of fall. From the appearance alone, she couldn't recognize where this inheritance came from, but looking at the aura contained in it, she could be sure that this was a very powerful Kinoism in ancient times, and she really couldn't tell which aspect it was. Chapter 52:14. The true spirit was watching in the Sea of Origin, pinching the fleshy beard at the corner of his mouth with one hand, and squinting his small eyes. His face was full of joy. Since he had an independent will, he has had a bad habit, that is, earning money. There are many fixed treasures in the Temple of Qishan, such as the special area like Demon Mountain. There were a lot of scattered treasures on the Demon Mountain back then, but not only was it suppressed array of origin, but the treasures above were all put into its own treasure house by the real spirit. In the Temple of Qishan, there are countless worlds and countless treasure houses. Although most of them are fixed, there are still many scattered treasures and inheritances, all hidden in their own treasure houses by the true spirit. He kneaded his beard, raised the corner of his eye, and a token appeared in his hand. How about it? How many ultimate Dayan immortals have been stunned this time? True Spirit asked without leaving the sky with his eyes fixed on the sky. On the token, an illusory image appeared, and it was one of the spirit guards. My lord, the ultimate Dayan immortal in the 16 nearby universes has already been stunned, barely enough to make up 1,000 people. The spirit guard replied with a bow. And yes, Zhenling said lightly, but when he thought of something, and then said, yes, isn't that stuff also here? Why didn't I see him? The words of the true spirit made the watcher a little confused. If he didn't understand what the true spirit said, he couldn't ask questions, so he could only stare. Just the little thing that survived by fluke. What is it called? He was removed a few days ago. And I almost forgot him. Zhenling rubbed his temples, feeling exhausted. Is your highness Wuxia? The guardian asked with some uncertainty. Yes, it's this little thing. Didn't I say that? Let him also enter the temple of Qishan and follow the group of emperors to get some benefits, so as not to say that I have forgotten my roots, and the old master's bones are not cold. He will remove the only surviving disciple. Zhenling said so, but in his heart he really didn't regard the other person as a person. Opening his mouth is just a small thing. The guardian probably understood what he meant, and quickly said, Master True Spirit, I think Wuxia is extremely disrespectful to the adults. If he didn't beheaded, he was giving the old master's face. How could he let such a villain again enter the temple of Qi? When Zhenling saw what he said about the spitting star flying up, his face changed suddenly, and he said slightly angrily, No matter what, he is the master's disciple. Even if he is delisted, he can't be treated differently. You'd better let him come in quickly. I think the development of the 4 secret realms has not been very smooth recently. These ancient relics dared to rebel, and it happened that Wuxia went there to open up wasteland. The trial of the primitive world did not take long, and the trial of the 4 secret realms in the primitive world ended. The construction must be completed before, at least to open up the cultivation area of Dian Immortal. Zhenling glanced at the bottom of the Sea of Origin. There was the inside of the Temple of Qishan, and it was also the largest world outside of the origin of the sea. This is the world of the gods built by the gods himself. After so many reincarnation epochs, a lot of indigenous powerhouses have appeared in the 4 great secret realms. The White Tiger Palace is now somewhat unguarded, and it has become extremely difficult to open up wasteland. But the strength of His Royal Highness Wuxia. The Spirit Watcher was interrupted by the True Spirit before he finished speaking. The third child. You have to remember that even if Wuxia was expelled, he was once a named disciple of the Great of Misgivings. Don't take it lightly. Let him enter the 4 secret realms. Open up wasteland. Go now, this is an order, do you understand? Yes. The keeper did not dare to say any more, and quickly nodded. He could see that this true spirit had to kill this Wuxia. Back then, Wuxia just fiddled with the old man's beard. Now he has regained power, not only in addition to Wuxia's name, but also for him. To death. Where are the 4 secret realms? There is the core of the Temple of Qishan. Although the Qishan Temple has been operating internally from ancient times to the present, there are puppets from the 4 main halls suppressing various realms. The Suzaku Palace sits in the primordial realm, and the primordial stars that test Dian Immortal are just a small place. The real primordial realm is very huge, much larger than the bloodthirsty continent, and it is dedicated to suppressing some innate gods left over from ancient times. Demon and some evil avenues turned into ideologies. The Xuanwu Hall has the most puppets, and can independently develop puppet techniques. It sits in 108 outer worlds, and all the sub-temples are under the management of Xuanwu Hall. The Qishan Temple that entered the Desiyu area was the Xuanwu Temple left there, and those who entered were also allowed by the Xuanwu Temple. Even the opening of the Qishan Temple had a huge connection with the Xuanwu Temple, and the power of the deadly resurrection awakened the sleeping true spirit. The entire Temple of Qishan was also like a true spirit, awakened from ancient times, directly opening the highest trial. It is a pity that too many years have passed, and the control of the 4 halls has been weakened a lot. It also controls the metabolism of Xuanwu Temple, and controls several big worlds. Like the Qinglong Temple, it can only shrink in the bloodthirsty continent. The top combat power is too small. It can control many big worlds, but those worlds will also give birth to the puppets of the powerful 4 halls. The strongest is only the Palace Master with Tier 6 combat power, and the remaining 6 are Tier 5 combat power. Just a few people simply can't control too much of the world. The Xuanwu Temple is different from the White Tiger Temple. The former creates a large number of puppets to manage the big world for them. Those puppets are very powerful, and even they can create puppets with 4th order emperor fighting power. With these puppets suppressing a large world, The development of Xuanwu Temple is very strong, and it is several times stronger than Qinglong Vermilion Bird Temple. However, the Vermilion Bird Palace has guarded the primitive world since ancient times, and has never been out. If it were not for this highest trial, their manpower would be enough. On the contrary, the Qinglong Temple is the most unlucky. He has always advocated the integration of all the worlds in the Qishan Temple. In the end, he was beaten and hid in the bloodthirsty continent, and did not dare to come out. If it weren't for the indigenous emperors of other great worlds, who couldn't cross the chaotic air currents between the worlds, the entire Qishan Temple would have long been messed up. Although the White Tiger Palace of the latter is very powerful, it has collected many indigenous powerhouses, but they are guarding the 4 secret realms, the 4 worlds at the core of the Qishan Temple. Heaven, Earth, Man, and God. These 4 secret realms are the 4 major worlds covered by the Qishan origin. Each secret realm is very broad. Although not as big as the bloodthirsty continent, there are many powerful people that can be born. Especially in the secret realm of the heavenly chaotic secret realm, even the 6th order emperors have been born. Fortunately, the master of the White Tiger Palace is ruthless. The strong conquer their own use, and the weak will directly kill them. This can stabilize the situation. But that's it, the 4 secret realms often riot. The secret realm of the Tomb of the Gods is a world where the gods sit and turn, where there are 13 guardians of them, and no one dares to guard the Tomb of the Gods. Moreover, most of the special lives born in the secret realm of the Tomb of the Gods are very rare. Chapter 52:15. However, there is no chaotic air current between the 4 great secret realms. The 4 big worlds are connected. In recent years, there have been many strong people who entered the Tomb of the Gods from the other 3 secret realms. Fortunately, their 13 spirit guards have the top strength of the 6th order. Those people can be suppressed at any time. In order to start the trial, the true spirit immediately called out 8 guardians, and immediately reduced the defensive power of the secret realm of the tomb to the lowest. They were born to guard the tomb of the deity, but the master once explained that everything must obey the true spirit. This makes them dare not defy. Okay, let's go. Don't worry about the Tomb of the Gods, everything is with me. The fleshy beard at the corner of Zenling's mouth fluttered, and the whole body was bathed in the sea of origin, very comfortable. The spirit watcher did not dare to defy on the surface, but his face was dark, and he sighed secretly. The master's bones are not cold, and the true spirit is the only one in the family, regardless of the master's body, only knowing that one person is floating in the sea of origin to enjoy. A ray of the origin of the universe can make thousands of emperors overflow. Here is the sea of origin. Even if a pig sleeps here as a whole, it can sleep as a Dian fairy. Just picking out a strand of origin can make the pig become the sea of origin of the emperor. Every time this old man comes, he hurriedly drove them away, and he couldn't wait any longer. The guardian is suffocated, and he has to say something nice. Yes, the adults are overworked and tired, so the subordinates want bother. The figure of the spirit guard gradually disappeared in the token. Zhenling squinted his eyes and kept observing Huiqing in the sky, with a smile on his lips. It's a little too close, you have to work hard, little guy. There are no more than 10 practitioners in the entire primitive universe, which is such a privilege. If Jian Wushuang knew that the old man was the one who disliked him the most in the primitive universe, he would probably have to stand up. In the sky, Huiqing sweated, sliding down the smooth forehead. He doesn't know how long it has passed. The golden breath has been surrounding him, but no matter how he does it, he can't subdue it. He was in control of this unique inheritance, but he just couldn't control that breath. Reincarnation. Huiqing murmured, this inheritance is reincarnation. He doesn't even know how many reincarnations he has, but he just couldn't succeed. What is the real reincarnation? Now his divine body has been transformed into a reincarnation divine body, according to the inheritance of the jerk. The original 100-fold divine body has now increased to 10,000 times the level, but still can't bear that breath. 10,000 times divine body. The peak of special life is only 10,000 times divine body. Today, only Qishui Walker is the existence of 10,000 times divine body among the emperors. There are also several special lives of 10,000 times divine body that have grown up in Dian Immortal. A Dian Immortal who is comparable to the ultimate way, has the strength of a half-step emperor. Hui Qing was originally the ultimate way, and now because of the inheritance of reincarnation, the divine body has reached the 10,000-fold level. The two are combined, and he will grow up in the future, which will definitely exceed the special life of those 10,000-fold divine body, and far exceed the ultimate of the same level. Taoist practitioners will truly rival the emperor. This kind of strength and potential is also the reason that Zhen Ling is optimistic. If you really pass this on to other people, they may not be able to bear it, and Hui Qing alone can accept it. Because he is reincarnation, the inheritance of reincarnation is none other than him. There are many inheritances in the Temple of Qishan, but there are few suitable for these practitioners. It is not that the inheritance is not good, but the practitioners are not. Even if it is given to them, they can't accept it by hand-in-hand teaching. The inheritance that Hui Qing has accepted now fits his origin incomparably, and it is extremely difficult, let alone other people. A ripple in the origin made Hui Qing tremble all over. Haha, little guy, you can't stop me. You were born from a trace of my origin. Now you should welcome your body. With a move in Hui Qing's heart, the memories that were suppressed deep in her heart finally merged together, and turned into a red-robed man, who touched Hui Qing's appearance. There is a red mark on his eyebrows, a red robe is floating, and even his eyes are red. Hui Qing's eyes suddenly opened, since he couldn't suppress it, and let that memory turn into an independent consciousness. It should have been liquidated, but now it is ahead of schedule. Then completely eliminate the whole scourge. At this time, Hui Qing's inner world showed two selves. One is the red robe Hui Qing whose memory turns into independent consciousness, and the other is the ontology of Hui Qing's own consciousness. The two look at each other far away. Good. Hui Qing sighed with a low eyebrow. Hongpao Hui Qing snorted coldly. I am the secret of heaven, and the opportunities are unlimited. Hui Qing knew that group of memories, and he also understood all of his previous lives. But he didn't think about it, and he didn't want to think about it. Give birth to this life, then completely cut off from the previous life. You are not a secret. Hui Qing shook her head. A pair of clear eyes recalled the past, making his complexion greatly changed, and then angrily shouted, the secret of heaven is dead, he is dead. The celestial body has turned into hundreds of millions, and dispersed with the celestial realm back then. You are just an evil thought and dare to claim a secret. Hui Qing changed her long sigh, and became extremely domineering. You. Hongpao Hui Qing was surprised. He didn't expect the other party to know the secret. Before the great wilderness recovered, the memory in Hui Qing's heart was him. And it was also because of him that Hui Qing stepped into the Tao and reheld the Tao of Zen. In his opinion, Hui Qing's consciousness and soul realm should have been a little guy who is not even Yin Xian. How can he suddenly become so decisive now? And the more he sees Hui Qing, the more he feels that the other party is the main body, which makes him very shocked. Hui Qing is right. He is indeed not the subject of the secrets of heaven, and he is just a strand of consciousness transformed into the origin. It's just that his luck is not as good as Hui Qing's. He was able to reincarnate successfully, and he awakened after reincarnation for all ages. Although there is a great opportunity in this, and his promotion, this is the luck that the emperor said. There are so many opportunities without luck. Little guy, it seems that you know a lot, but don't forget, you have the current strength because of me, so you will be swallowed up obediently. The red robe's voice was cold, and I didn't know how many rebirths. He recovered again. He will not give up, especially when Hui Qing was suppressed before. He knew that as Hui Qing's strength became stronger and stronger, the suppressing power would be greater, and it would be difficult for him to stand up again. But now Hui Qing accepts the inheritance, is not suppressing him, then this time will be his last chance. I said I am not a secret. The secret is dead. Since you presumptuously claim the secret, then go to die too. Hui Qing's eyes were cold, And as soon as her voice fell, the two of them fought like heavens and humans. But their unmoving consciousness turned into swords and spears, and the fierce fighting was no weaker than the outside world. Chapter 52:16. You are me. I am you. The secret of heaven will also be the secret of heaven. Reincarnation cannot be changed for many lifetimes. Hongpao Huiqing roared, although crazy. His will was gradually swallowed, and has fallen into a disadvantage. Huiqing didn't talk nonsense, sitting cross-legged on the ground, closing his eyes, and the law bodies of this life suddenly appeared behind him. Hongpao Huiqing claimed to be a heavenly secret. His Dharma body was the same as before. A Taoist priest with a high crown and bright eyes, carrying a mahogany sword on his back, has a majestic face with Chinese characters, and his facial features are sharp and sharp. Huiqing sat cross-legged on the ground, not looking or willing to look, but at this time he had to face the past life when he was fighting. Destroy it to me. I am the ontology. Red Robe Huiqing Commander Tianji Taoist drew out the mahogany sword and slashed towards Huiqing. The figure behind Huiqing's body, carrying the brown long stick, jumped up. The two laws of heaven and earth fought together in an instant, and the world of the heart was trembling. Hongpao Huiqing gritted his teeth, desperately blessing the image of the heavenly Taoist. Tianji, you can remember the promises you once made. Huiqing's face shouted loudly. This angry shout made the heavenly J.S. Faxiang stunned for a while, but made the red robe Huiqing, who had been issued, to stand up anxiously, and hurriedly shouted, I am the main body. I am the main body. Go and devour him. Calm. Hongpao Huiqing didn't listen to the facial features summoned by Huiqing, which made him completely dumbfounded. His previous lives' harmony of heaven's opportunity failed and fell, but at that time he was not sure about his harmony, and it was precisely that his death was suicide. Now that he has been reincarnated successfully, and the memories of his previous life have recovered, why not swallow Huiqing and return to the top to join the Tao again? Hongpao Huiqing was very puzzled. Why? What is it for? Hongpao Huiqing roared. At this time, the heavenly Ji Faxiang above looked back at Hongpao Huiqing. What was revealed in his eyes was no longer the harshness, but rather gentle. Promise. What surprised Hongpao Huiqing even more was that Faxiang was able to speak. Huiqing smiled faintly. Yes, the previous promise, the promise to the matchmaker. Do you still remember? Tianji Faxiang turned his head back and looked at Huiqing's Faxiang again. His eyes became sharp again. I never forgot. Tianji replied heavily. Huiqing nodded and finally sighed. When that memory turned into consciousness, he completely faced his past and present life, and the memory of heaven's mystery was completely integrated with him in this life. 30 million years of practice has made people understand the original mind. Even if the past lives are mixed with this life, he still distinguishes them clearly. The Tianji Taoist in the previous life was very powerful. He was a powerful man who rivaled the emperor with the body of a mortal, and was the strongest Dayan immortal in the Eastern Yin realm, and even the countless worlds around him. At that time, he was amazing, talented and passionate, and even defeated the First Order Emperor with his own hands. Dayan Xian defeated the Emperor. This is like a legend in the primitive universe. The realm of Dayan Xian and Emperor is like the division of heaven and earth. But such a shocking Dayan. But in the end, he was unsure and suddenly joined the Tao, which is tantamount to suicide. All this is a mystery. When he fell, the whole person didn't care even more. The origin collapsed directly, and he didn't want to survive. All this is because of his Taoist companion matchmaker. Huiqing also understood why she was reluctant to accept the memory and face the past life. It turns out that he has never changed anything, and he has never forgotten what he tried to forget. He has always been him. Matchmaker is the pain of Tianji's life. Both Huiqing and Tianji's facial features were red at this moment. Back in time and space, the heavens before countless epochs. Somewhere in the endless continent, there is a mundane dynasty Yu kingdom. Among the mountains in the territory of Vietnam, there is a very famous valley called the Valley of Wangsheng. There is still such a legend in the local area, that as long as you worship the Buddha devoutly in the Valley of Death, you will recall memories of previous lives. Because of this legend, the temples in the valley keep burning incense for many years. In addition to believers who want to know the memories of previous lives, there are also many believers who keep their peace, pray for children, ask for money, eliminate disasters, and relieve difficulties. These people don't know that there is a Taoist temple on the mountain behind the temple, where the Taoist priests are the real gods. But because of that legend, no one pays attention to the dilapidated Taoist temple, only the temple in the valley. One autumn, there was a flood outside the mountain, which swallowed up the rush-harvested wheat fields and some small villages. More people came to the temple to worship Buddha, more than usual. The young Taoist priests in the Taoist temple on the top of the mountain do not understand that these people are almost out of food, so why should they spend money to worship Buddha? The old Taoist priest of the Taoist temple shook his head and said, "The secret of heaven must not be revealed." The little Taoist priest did not understand, and planned to go down the mountain to see the temple that made people dream of, so he lied to the mountain and asked for some rice. The old Taoist saw at a glance that the little Taoist was lying, but he didn't stop him. He just looked at the back of the little Taoist and shook his head repeatedly and sighed, "I still can't keep it commit evil." The little Taoist went all the way down the mountain. He was an orphan. He lived with the old Taoists on the mountain since he was a child. He was familiar with everything on the mountain, but he didn't know anything about the temple. Today he wants to see what mystery is inside. The novel.com will make so many worship. He descended the mountain along the intestinal path. His steps were light, and he was able to take a long battle at every step. His figure was very stable. If he was seen by others, he would be shocked. This is simply a light feat in martial arts. However, he and his master have walked this path so far. Outside the temple at this time, there were busy traffic. There were sedan chairs of the landlord's house, and the wooden horse and ox cart of ordinary tenants. They were all frowning before entering the temple, but after entering the temple they were happy and smiling, especially after going in and worshipping the Buddha. The way he walked out swept away the decadence of the past and replaced it with a face full of scenery. Appearance. After seeing this scene, the little Taoist became even more curious. However, he appeared at the entrance of the temple in the form of a Taoist priest, which caused many people to give pointers, and even whispered loudly that even Taoists would worship Buddha. The little Tao was impatient and wanted to argue, but when he thought of the purpose of coming this time, he ignored him and left the main entrance of the temple in a detour. He didn't want to be pointed by those people, so he planned to climb the wall and enter the temple to find out. Go and see this temple, what's so good about it? After bypassing the busy main entrance, he came to a remote wall and looked around. At this time, he was also frustrated, afraid of being seen. If the master saw him over the wall and enter the temple, he was afraid of the master. Was off. The courtyard wall at the front entrance is tall and stylish, but the side wall that no one can see is very dilapidated. It is just a wall surrounded by green bricks and green tiles. It is very dilapidated and not as good as a Taoist wall. The pilgrims think this is the compassion of the monks, leaving the best to the respected Buddha, but they themselves live in a dilapidated courtyard. Chapter 52:17. The little Taoist stepped back a few steps. Then his steps were clean. His body was as light as a swallow. He jumped up. He was 7 or 8 feet tall, and he was ready to climb over the wall with a single touch. If the tiles above were not stable, his hand slipped, almost fell. Fortunately, he was good enough with his body style, and only one touch of the palm of his hand resolved the crisis, and he fell into the temple steadily. He fixed his eyes and scanned the surroundings, only to find that this was a vegetable garden, with a row of cucumbers planted in front of him. The cucumber vines were all framed by bamboo poles, standing high just to block his figure. The little Taoist breathed a sigh of relief. When he calmed down, he swallowed when he saw the fresh cucumbers slipping on the bamboo poles. He has not eaten any serious vegetables from the snacks of whole grains. There is also a vegetable garden in Taoist temple, but the whole white radish grown in it is also slightly sweet when eaten raw. But every time he eats it, his chest is hot and painful. Those white radishes will eventually be made into pickles and placed in a big pot in the kitchen. The big stick of dried radishes is what he and his master usually eat. It was the first time he saw a large green vegetable garden in front of him. The saliva from the corner of his mouth almost came out, and he unconsciously stretched his hand to a jade cucumber. But before his hand touched the cucumber, a small stone hit the back of his hand accurately. The little Taoist quickly put away the hand he had just stretched out, regardless of the tingling on the back of his hand. He hurriedly glanced around, trying to find the person who hit him with the stone. "Hey, here I am." A naughty voice came from behind him. Looking up, a little girl in red linen, sitting on the dilapidated wall, was looking at him with a smile. That smile made the little Taoist stay in place and dare not move. "What do you look at? Look carefully at this girl who dug your double sun." The little girl in red put a smile on her face, revealing a vicious look. The little Taoist was really frightened and sat down on the ground. Seeing the little Taoist, who was startled by her, the girl in red couldn't hold her face anymore and smiled. She jumped off the wall and walked slowly to the little Taoist priest. When she pinched her waist and smiled, her eyes looked like a crescent moon. "What is your name?" "Li Yushan." One question and one answer make the two of them acquainted. From the young Taoist priest, Li Yushan learned that she was from the temple and that this vegetable garden belonged to her. After seeing him, the girl in red seemed to have something to say. It was originally to inquire about the secrets of the temple, but Li Yushan didn't know what to do. It seemed that he had forgotten his purpose and talked with the girl in red for a long time. This time meeting is like a destiny. Li Yushan didn't think that he should go until it got darker. He just wanted to leave. He always wanted to ask the other person what his name was, but after talking for so long, he still didn't dare to ask. Said it was a chat between the two, but the girl in red was actually talking about it. He nodded or said something about Taoism, but whenever he said about things, the girl in red would stare at her eyes, a pair of crescent-shaped eyes. The eyes turned into stars, very yearning. "Oh, it would be great if I was in your master's Taoist temple. I could go out to play every day. My father never let me leave this vegetable garden, and forbid other people to play with me. I'm going to die of boredom." Looking at the sad girl in red, Li Yushan didn't know how to comfort him. After holding back for a long time, he finally said, "Then can I come and play with you in the future?" The red-clothed girl's eyes turned into crescent shapes again, nodded vigorously and said excitedly, "Of course." Little Taoist Li Yushan lowered his head and blushed a little. When he left, the girl in red picked 2 cucumbers for him. "You and your master each have 1. Remember to come and play with me." The girl gave Li Yushan 2 fresh cucumbers carelessly. This is a teenager. At this time, after seeing the cucumber, he swallowed again. The words he just wanted to say were swallowed back. Finally, he nodded and planned to ask again next time. But when he just turned his head and was about to leave, when the girl stopped him. "By the way, Li Yushan." The girl in red stopped the little Taoist and said dejectedly, "I don't have a name, but you can call me a matchmaker in the future." After speaking, he turned and left. Looking at the disappearing back, Li Yushan smiled. After returning to the Taoist temple, the little Taoist priest gave both cucumbers to the master. "Master." The old Taoist stared at Li Yushan and shook his head. "I'm not hungry, take it out." Li Yushan smiled and took the cucumber and returned to his house. In the following days, he would go to the vegetable garden of the temple every few days to find a matchmaker. The two of them gradually became dissatisfied to chat and catch butterflies. From Li Yushan's mouth, she knew the prosperous town under the mountain, the beautiful scenery of the back mountain valley. She is very yearning for these places, but unfortunately she has never had the opportunity to go. Until one day, Li Yushan came up with a note. The snow was heavy, and the two built a snowman. And then the matchmaker put her coat on the snowman, stepped on the shoulder of the little Taoist, and stepped out of the courtyard wall. The two walked around the mountain road, walked the back mountain path, played all the way, saw the snow scene in the valley, and went down the mountain to the small town. Looking at the crystal-clear candy gourd, both of them swallowed their saliva. Seeing the matchmaker's greedy look, The little Taoist priest secretly vowed that he would make money to buy sugar-candied haws for the matchmaker in the future. After taking the matchmaker to see the new stuff on the market, the two of them were lucky enough to leave. Li Yushan remembered everything that the matchmaker was interested in. When he met the matchmaker, he moved Fanxin. At this time, they went down the mountain together and became seductive. After sending the matchmaker back, Li Yushan stepped on the thick snow and returned to Taoist temple step by step. He lost his soul all the way, but he didn't notice many footprints in the snow. When he returned to the Taoist temple, he discovered that the originally dilapidated Taoist temple was now even more broken. The wooden door was smashed, the only square table in the yard was turned into 2 halves, and the only container in the kitchen containing dried radishes was also smashed. Not knowing why, the little Taoist rushed into the house and shouted, "Master! Yushan!" The old Taoist priests, full of bags on their foreheads, sitting cross-legged on the futon, stopped the young Taoist in a hurry. "Master, what's the matter with you?" Li Yushan hurriedly stepped forward to help the old Taoist priest, who wanted to get up. "It's okay. You don't need to help me. You just need to tell me now, do you plan to stay here, or follow me to leave here?" The old Taoist stared at the little Taoist, and the two were in a stalemate here. Li Yushan's eyes were avoiding, and his figure stepped back and lowered his head. For a while, he didn't know how to answer. He never thought that the master would take him away, nor did he want to leave here and leave the valley of death. Chapter 52:18. Looking at the hesitant Li Yushan, the old Taoist had an answer in his heart, and smiled lightly. "It seems that our fate is here, and it's time for me to leave. But you remember, you are my third life disciple. Always will be." As soon as the voice fell, the old Taoist priest turned into a puff of blue smoke, floating out of the house, disappearing without a trace. Li Yushan was shocked when he saw this scene. He didn't expect the master, who raised him to grow up, turned out to be a god. When the old Taoist left, a piece of jade pendant and a letter were left on the futon. Li Yushan held the letter in one hand, and the jade pendant in the other. He stood by the threshold and looked outside the house. He couldn't calm down for a long time, until the sky was completely dim, and he couldn't see the outside world. He went back to his room dejectedly. In the following days he did not go to the matchmaker, because he learned from the mountain that his master was beaten away by the monk of the temple. Although he knew in his heart that his master was a god, he was not beaten away at all. It was just right. He was disappointed. Li Yushan was very sad. After the master was away, he could only cook firewood by himself every day, and sat on the threshold alone in a daze. When he was in a daze, he thought of the matchmaker's body world. The matchmaker's father was a fat monk from the temple, and her mother was a pilgrim. After giving birth to her, she committed suicide by throwing herself into a well. The first time he heard the matchmaker, he was not sad but very envious of the matchmaker. At least he knew his life experience. Li Yushan has followed his master since he was a child, and is very unfamiliar with his parents. After staying alone on the mountain for a month, Li Yushan was a little uncomfortable, and wanted to go to the temple down the mountain to find a matchmaker. But I didn't expect the matchmaker to come to the mountain to find him this time. Meet the two. Be silent. The matchmaker lost the innocent smile on her face. She became very silent, her face turned sallow, and there were strangle marks on her neck. When the little Taoist saw it, he was very sad, thinking that it was the matchmaker he was injuring, and hurriedly went to get the herbal medicine prepared by the master. "Li Yushan, I am going to marry," the matchmaker said with a trembling voice with tears in her eyes. The medicine box that was just taken out fell, and the little Taoist priest was a little confused. Just standing blankly like that when the master left, he still didn't know how to stay. After taking a look, the matchmaker wiped away the tears from the corners of her eyes, sucked her nose, and turned her small face aside, not to see the little Taoist priest. The last time he leaked a smile, he smiled with a mischievous voice. "Then I'm leaving, and I remember to go to the mountain for a wedding wine on the 15th of next month." After saying this, the matchmaker turned and left. The little Taoist stood by the threshold again, trying to open his mouth. But his throat was like a stone in his throat, like a stone blocking his mouth. He couldn't open his mouth no matter what. Just standing there, the back of Jidao matchmaker disappeared from his field of vision. I don't know how many times I looked back, but I couldn't change the figure of the young man in blue shirt. I had imagined it countless times, but the reality never happened. 28 Fangling. It is the time for girls to bloom. The fat monk in Wuxia Temple is planning a big deal. What? What do you do for food? The host of the Wuxia Temple, the matchmaker's father, threw the Buddhist scriptures in his hands on the face of the visitor angrily. Several monks bowed their heads and dared not refute. In the lobby of the temple, a large Buddha is decorated extremely dignified. Although it is a mud figure, the eyes are decorated very kindly. Every pilgrim will feel refreshed when he sees the Buddha statue, as if bathing in the spring breeze. But at this time, the mud statue became extremely coercive, staring at the fat monk and several monk heads below. This statue of Buddha is the sitting position of the infinite Buddha. At that time, the immeasurable Buddha had just enlightened and was competing for the position of chief. In the monasteries of the mortal world, most of the temples of the two are enshrined. It is the immeasurable Buddha who worships in this Wuxia temple. In front of the immeasurable Buddha statue, the fat monk leaked an evil face. The money for the incense that Wang Yuanwei promised has been sent here. No matter what happens to the 15th wedding next month, there must be no change, okay? But 2,000 used to big money. How can there be so much? The fat monk frowned and snorted coldly. He couldn't manage that much. So after ordering to go down, he went to the backyard. Second brother, you can count it. You almost exhausted me this month. As soon as the voice fell, in the dark backyard, a person who looked exactly like the fat monk walked out. The fat monk who just came out of the front yard had a cold face. Old third. The two entered the dark backyard together, which formed a sharp contrast with the brightly lit front yard. Inside the Taoist temple on the mountain, it was dim both front and back. Inside the little Taoist's house, a dim yellow kerosene lamp wandered and restlessly, just like the little Taoist's mood now. Since the matchmaker left, the little Taoist priest can no longer hold his own mood. Putting on his coat again, wearing cloth shoes made of 1,000 needles and sharp blades, he came to the Taoist temple in front of the Tianjungxiang, sat cross-legged on the futon, and recited the meditation mantra. But no matter how many times he meditated the meditation mantra, he couldn't calm his mind. Even in front of Tianjungxiang, he had imagined that he was a monk, so that he could enter Wuxia Temple and see the matchmaker every day. Somewhat ignorant of him, also fantasizes about being a monk and marrying a wife. Snapped. Unconsciously, the little Taoist shed a tear. Falling on the bluestone slab made a clear sound, causing ripples in his heart. A month passed in a blink of an eye. Spring is coming and autumn is coming. On this day, the snow has melted and everything is born. The little Taoist woke up early, unintentionally ate dinner, sat quietly on the futon, looking outside the house, with his back leaning against the heavenly king. Painting the ground is a prison, but so. He hasn't taken a half step for a month. His heart is outside, but his body is trapped in this broken Taoist temple. Li Yushan didn't know why, and slowly got up and walked to the threshold, staring blankly at the sheep intestine path outside, where it leads directly to the Xingxi temple. 3 rods in the sun. He heard the sound of firecrackers faintly, and Li Yushan, who often went to the small town below the mountain, knew that the matchmaker would leave when the wedding party arrived, and it would be difficult to see each other again in his lifetime. Looking back on the various scenes in the past, Li Yushan's eyes were no longer dull but tough. At this moment, he has a choice in his heart. As his master said, he has the answer already in his heart. This answer should have been told to the matchmaker a month ago. He regretted it, but fortunately, it is not too late. He is going to the Xingxi temple, looking for a matchmaker, and then telling her the promise in his heart. Li Yushan stepped out of the house and left the Taoist temple. He gradually moved faster down the road. He was afraid and regretted it. I was afraid I would never see the matchmaker again, regretting the indecision at that time. Li Yushan, who was running wildly, tore off his Taoist robe, just like the falling snow between the heavens and the earth, revealing the original appearance. In Wuxia Temple, today is the day of rejoicing outside the king, married to an orphan, and the host of Wuxia Temple personally matched it. Chapter 52:19. Host Elder. It's hard work. Wang Yuanwei is a middle-aged man over half 100 years old. Because he has never done physical work, his body is graceful, and his skin is whiter than many girls. The two exchanged greetings and went to the backyard together, ready to pick up the bride. There was no one else beside him. Wang Yuanwei and the fat monk had leaked their original appearance. The presiding elder, "Can this little girl really break my natural disaster?" Wang Yuan asked in a low voice, shaking his huge body. "The king, please rest assured. As long as this woman marries into your royal family and becomes your concubine, you will definitely be relieved of your stubborn illness," said the fat monk righteously. "Well, I'm relieved with your words. I have already sent the incense money to the side room, and we have settled the two." When the fat monk heard this, his expression leaked out of joy, and he quickly said, "Good." Sending the king to the door of the backyard, the fat monk quickly walked to the side room of the front yard. The welcoming ceremony went smoothly. After the Wang Yuan settled the bride on the sedan chair, he went to a carriage in front of him. Li Yushan, who rushed to the outside of the temple, saw the welcoming team that had just started. This time he did not hesitate anymore, and stood directly in front of the road, blocking the team going down the mountain. "Why don't you leave?" Wang Yuanwei opened the curtain beside him and looked at the servant next to him. "In return to the master, someone in front of you blocked the way. On the big day, there will be people who will block the way and ask for money. This is very familiar to the king outsiders. He has married a few concubines in the first half of his life, and he will meet every time. If he had thrown a lot of money before, he didn't care. But this time he spent a lot of money to marry a yellow-haired girl. Knock him away." The king looked warm and angry, but when he lowered the curtain, he realized that this was outside the temple door. He waved his hand helplessly inside. "Forget it, reward him with a large amount of money, and let him get rid of me quickly." The domestic slave bent over, repeatedly saying yes. "Today is my grandfather's day of rejoicing. Now, take this money and get out." The slave directly threw the money on the ground and said impatiently. Li Yushan shook his head tenaciously. "I don't want money. No money." The slave looked at him up and down, and said with disdain, "Why, don't need money, want someone." The other domestic slaves laughed loudly when they heard this, rolling their sleeves and wrists one by one, ready to insert the little guy in front of them at any time. "Yes, I want someone," Li Yushan replied lightly. When the servant heard this, the smile on his face slowly disappeared, and his face became cold. The other domestic slaves also gathered around. Li Yushan's words cannot be solved by a severe beating. 3 or 5 evil slaves do it directly. Fortunately, Li Yushan is not a vegetarian, although he has never had a fight with anyone. But with the help of some moves the master gave him, 3 punches and 2 kicks knocked these people down. After lightly patted the footprints on his body, Li Yushan walked towards the sedan chair riding the bride. His eyes changed from tough to gentle, as if returning to that summer, the first time he saw the matchmaker in the vegetable garden. "Matchmaker," Li Yushan said silently. Several domestic servants who carried the sedan chair put down the sedan chair and backed one after another. Just now, all of them could see Li Yushan's skill clearly. Li Yushan walked slowly to the sedan chair, bent over and opened the curtain. When he saw the bride sitting in the sedan chair, his heart beat quickly. When everything was on his lips, he didn't know where to start. "Follow me," Li Yushan finally said the answer in his heart. The bride sitting in the sedan chair was taken aback, and said with some doubts, "Is it here so soon?" After hearing these words, the little Taoist was stunned. This is not the voice of a matchmaker. He didn't quite believe it. He tore off the bride's red hijab, but saw a strange face. "Ah!" The bride screamed in surprise. Li Yushan grabbed the red hijab and backed away quickly. At this moment, his heart was surprised and happy. The member of the king who was struggling to get out of the carriage stared fiercely and shouted, "Boy, you dare to intercept me. Do you know who I am?" Li Yushan dropped his red hijab and waved his hand to apologize, but rushed into the temple with joy on his face. The confused member of the king was a little confused, and several servants walked up to him, bowing their heads not daring to speak. "Humph," Wang Yuanwei snorted coldly. "Go back first, and I will clean him up after today." "Yes, yes." The welcoming team got up again and headed down the mountain, but Li Yushan went straight to the backyard of the temple, found the vegetable garden, and rushed to the place where the matchmaker lived. "Matchmaker!" Li Yushan shouted loudly, but I looked around and couldn't see the matchmaker. At this time he thought about it. The matchmaker said that his father was a monk in the temple, and he didn't wait for him to go to those monks to inquire. Several monks had already blocked his way with sticks. Who is the father of the matchmaker?" Li Yushan asked cautiously. He knew that the Taoist temple was smashed last time, because he took the matchmaker down the mountain, and the matchmaker's father wanted them to meet. "I am." The monk gave way, and a fat monk leaked his figure staring at Li Yushan with a grim expression. "Where is the matchmaker?" "Married." "Impossible. I saw that she is not a matchmaker." Li Yushan shook his head and said. The fat monk yelled firmly, "She is the matchmaker. Kick him out of me." Several monks walked towards Li Yushan carrying long sticks with unkind eyes. "These monk heads are not patriarchs, or they are not monk heads. The fat monks are not real monks at all." The fat monk, who just wanted to turn around and leave, didn't expect this little Taoist priest to be able to solve several monk heads in an instant. But looking at the scars on his body, the fat monk understood it and replaced it with an injury. "Boy, before I get angry, you finally get out. Where is the matchmaker?" Li Yushan had a premonition that was bad, and at this time he just wanted to see the matchmaker. "She's dead," the fat monk said with a smile. "Are you satisfied with this answer?" Li Yushan's pupils contracted, and he said in a panic, "Impossible. You don't believe it?" The fat monk was also interested, looking at the infatuated little Taoist in front of him, and then said, "I tell you the truth, she died a month ago, in the well behind you. This is impossible." Li Yushan hurriedly turned around and ran towards the well. At this time, the fat monk made a sudden move. Although he was fat, his movements were very agile and not weaker than Li Yushan. Li Yushan, who had just walked to the well, was kicked out of Su Yuan. But he didn't care about the pain, so he got up with difficulty until he saw that the well was as clear as before, and he didn't feel relieved. "Boy, go and accompany her." The fat monk grabbed his neck and pressed towards the well. Chapter 52:20. At this moment, the little Taoist felt another breath. He fought hard to resist, broke free of the fat monk's arm, jumped up and hit the fat monk with a punch. He smashed the fat monk to the ground, and rode back on top of the fat monk, carrying the fat monk's collar, and angrily asked, "Where did you hide the matchmaker?" Without waiting for the fat monk to answer, he only felt a dizziness in the back of his head, and fell directly on the fat monk's chest. A cold voice came from behind. "Hurry up, we have to leave overnight." "Second brother, what do you do with this kid?" The fat monk who got up from the ground leaked a smile. If others are shocked when they see Absolute, there are two people who look exactly the same in the world. The two fat monks look exactly the same, but their personalities are different. The second child is indifferent, while the third is like a smiling tiger, with a smile on his face. "Tie it first, and throw it in the side room." I can finally leave this ruined temple." I don't know when Li Yushan regained his consciousness, but vaguely he heard the conversation between the two fat monks. It turns out that these two Jiangyang thieves who were once from other places fled to this Wangxing temple to avoid being wanted by the government, killed the original presiding elder, and became a counterfeit monk. Now he has gotten a lot of money from Wang Yuanwei, and he is ready to run away with the money. "Second brother, your trick is really ruthless." This king is not a good thing at first. If it wasn't for his elder brother to hold us, he wouldn't have to hide here for more than 10 years. Now his elder brother is dead and has lost his backing. He will have to finish playing sooner or later. And he was caught by my poisonous heart goo, and he won't live for a few days. Second brother, you misunderstood what I meant. I mean it was a cruel trick for you to let that girl marry a member of the king. The fat monk smiled wickedly. If he knew the girl he promised him at the beginning, it was his wife who was born. My daughter, I guess she will go crazy. It's a pity, that girl has a weird temperament. After hanging up several times and being stopped, she said she went to see this kid and agreed at a glance. But she jumped into the well when she came back. The second child's eyes were cold. He recalled that 10 years ago, an infertile woman came to the temple to ask for a child, but was eventually ruined by their brothers. It turned out that she was actually pregnant, and the two couldn't bear to kill them when they saw it. But when the child was born, they realized that it was not the two of them. The two brothers strangled the woman in anger. This woman is the mother of the matchmaker, and the original wife of the Wang Yuanwei. After the matchmaker was born, the two of them saw that they were girls, so they thought about raising them and selling them to the brothel, who wanted the Wang members to travel to the temple a few months ago and confessed his life experience. As soon as the two brothers combined, they decided on this poisonous trick. What a pity! That little girl jumped into the well and died. They had to get a woman from the brothel overnight from the field for money. This is also the reason why the two ran away in a hurry. It's all to blame for this stinky boy. He broke his plan, so just kill him. No, just leave him here. After a while, when the king outsider finds something wrong, he will come here to ask for trouble. Just leave this kid here to deal with the king outsider. He didn't even go to shoot and welcome his relatives today. The team? Then complete him. The indifferent monk said lightly, with such a vicious method. He didn't even squat his brow when he said it. Li Yushan trembled his lips, unable to move his body, but tears were left behind his eyes. Snapped. A drop of tears fell on the ground, and blood was dripping in his heart. This night, a fire broke out in the temple. On the second day, Wang Yuanwei went to Xingxi Temple to find trouble. After seeing the charcoal-burning temple and two unrecognizable corpses, he had no choice but to leave. And Li Yushan watched all this from a distance. His whole body was muddy, and there were several hideous scars on his face and body. Although the fire was extinguished, the monks in the temple were all dead, and no one was thinking about rebuilding the temple anymore. Even the sitting position of the immeasurable Buddha collapsed to the ground, and no one cared about it. Li Yushan turned and left, and went to the valley that the matchmaker liked very much. In this green valley, there is an extra tomb head with the word matchmaker crookedly engraved on the tombstone. That night, Li Yushan killed two fat monks who had lost all conscience, dug up the body of the matchmaker from the vegetable garden, and took her out of the temple, where she had been imprisoned for her entire life. Sitting in front of the grave, the little Taoist looked confused, looking at the gloomy sky. His tears had already drained, and he didn't know how to face the future. Wow! Chen Yu said it would go down, as if to shed tears for Li Yushan. Hate in his heart. Hate the indecision once, and hurt the matchmaker. It would be great if he stepped out the threshold at that time, and stopped the matchmaker who was leaving. The two stayed and flew. It was not that he hadn't thought about it, but at that moment he forgot to stand in front of the threshold, and just couldn't take that step. Now there are two worlds inside and outside the door. Li Yushan remained motionless despite the rain hitting his cheeks. The rain washed away the mud and blood on his body, but it could not wash away the scars in his heart. When he left the valley and returned to Taoist temple, he suddenly remembered that his master is a god. In his eyes, gods are omnipotent, and he has also heard the legend of reviving from the dead. Thinking of this, he rushed into the room and turned out the letter left by the master and the jade pendant. He held the jade pendant in both hands and came to Tianjungxiang, banging his head 3 times. After punching in the letter, look at the line of words on the letter. Like Fanchen, take the jade pendant to the east, and I will see you again. At this moment, Li Yushan rekindled his confidence again. He carefully put the jade around his neck, and the moment the jade pendant was hung on his chest, the letter turned into dust and disappeared in his hand. A large group of information also poured into his mind. A brand new world appeared in front of him. He packed his bags and went to the matchmaker's grave to sit still for an hour. When he finally left, he leaked a smile and said with a smile, "I won't let you wait too long." After speaking, he resolutely left, walked out of the valley of death, and embarked on a path that belonged to him. It is a pity that he never fulfilled his promise in his life, and he still made her wait for too long, until the world collapsed and the universe evolved. According to what the master said, he walked east all the way, condensing chi and became a cultivator along the way. I don't know how many years he has gone east, but he has never forgotten the way back. Finally, when he became immortal through the robbery, his master appeared. Sanzhou Zhenren, who was once a great celestial immortal in the heavens, traveled frequently in the world, and has been able to find out his deeds to this day. He took Li Yushan, who became the queen of the immortals, to the heavens, became his personal disciple, and became the first Taoist of the Tianqing Palace. 100 years later, Li Yushan mastered the way of heaven and was titled Heavenly Secret. Chapter 52:21. Thousands of years have entered the Dayan Immortal, and then follow the master Sanzhou Zhenren to fight the ancient ruins, break out a great reputation, become the emperor, and hope to be the emperor in the future. The immeasurable Buddha who had been enlightened at that time noticed him, because the two had a subtle cause and effect. Heavenly Ji Daojun also visited the immeasurable Buddha, and asked about the cycle of life and death through cause and effect. I learned from the immeasurable Buddha that only by becoming an emperor can we find mortal origin fragments from the origin of the heavens. Although mortals are weak, they still have their own origin fragments. Although they can only be regarded as natal fragments, they cannot reach the origin at all degree. But when there are enough mortals, they are still part of the origin of the world. After the heavenly mystery Daojun knew this, he became even crazier. In order to become the strongest emperor in He Dao, he insisted on elevating the Dao to the extreme, and finally mastered the ultimate way. Afterwards, under the recommendation of the three-show real man, he worshipped Emperor Dongyan, and became a direct disciple of Emperor Dongyan. He devoted himself to training only for the success of harmony. The ultimate emperor. Since ancient times, only one person has succeeded, but no matter how many secrets are, let alone only one person succeeds. Even if no one has succeeded, he has to fight. Dong Yen saw the disciples' obsession and knew that it was the immeasurable Buddha who had made the wrong idea. But the scars in the disciple's heart could only be resolved by himself, and no one could help him. There is always hurt in the heart, and the state of mind is not perfect after all, and it is the ultimate way. The difficulty of harmony is already very great, and it is impossible for hundreds of millions of practitioners to succeed. Even if Tianji's genius was amazing for eternity, it ended up with a failure of harmony in the end and fell in front of Emperor Dongyan. Before he joined the road, he had been to the past life valley, where it was still the same. Under his protection, the valley was no different from 10,000 years ago, even the tombstone of the Red Year. He is still wearing a Taoist robe, but there is more wind and frost on his body. Looking at the tombstone, Dong Yin once persuaded him forget it. But he didn't know how to forget, and he didn't dare to forget. This is the motivation for his desperate cultivation. If he forgets it, it would be better to stay in the Taoist temple and die alone. The day before he joined the road, he made a promise when he left this gorge that year. I won't let you wait for too long. If you can't find me, then I will find you below. His grasp of Hadao was not great, and his death was not unexpected. But when he fell, he had a smile on his face and a trace of tears in the corner of his eyes. He smiled and looked at the sky. You still found it. Recalled. The scenes turn around, and the secret of the inheritance smiles faintly, just like the ancients, willing to die and obliterate everything. Good. Huiqing clasped her hands together, and everything turned into fly ash in front of her. Hongpao Huiqing completely disappeared in Huiqing's heart in the unwilling roar. Now the Tao heart is the only one. The heart is like water. At this moment, he is the only one. There is no secret in the world. Reincarnation. Huiqing said silently, with a smile leaking from the corner of her mouth. The breath that surrounds the origin, turning again and again, is like looking back thousands of times in the previous life. How about reincarnation again and again? The original source trembles, that breath has nowhere to escape, is suppressed by Huiking's ultimate source, and finally turns into a breath. This backlog of breath has been in Huiking's heart for 30 million years, and now it has completely dissipated. The true spirit in the Sea of Origin, dancing happily, commented, "This son can become the ultimate emperor in this world. This is my credit, Those idiots dare to question me for breaking the rules. The special rules are broken for the strong, and they just obey the rules, but in the end they can only fall. The true spirit is right. How strict the rules of the gods were at the beginning. The gods' coercion overwhelmed Gaia's starry sky, and became the overlord of one party. And the forces built even occupied several long rivers of time and space. But in the end, it's not just a passing moment. Ultimately, it's just the beginning. The little guy keeps on working hard." Eclosion continent. At this time, Huiqing completely mastered the inheritance of reincarnation. He let out a breath, and this breath exhaled all the filth. And now he is truly detached. With the end of the inheritance, the outer barrier also disappeared. A group of strong people, waiting for the opportunity, are all observing. Now that the enchantment disappeared, the battle was about to start. Wanqing Daijin's aura was extremely overbearing, and directly rushed away the many Dayan immortals around him. Monk Huiqing. The other Dao monarchs also stepped forward. The scarlet color on the blood moon Dao monarch mountain wandered around, and the strongest people died in his hands. Many Dayan immortals have begun to retreat, and now only the limit can be left. Dayan immortal, and some half-trail monarchs. It's really wonderful, so many strong people. Jian Wushuang, who was hiding in the crowd, had just arrived not long. He was still surprised when he left the customs, why his ranking has not changed at all after 1 year. And the rankings of many strong players have not changed. He thought these had become honest and stopped fighting. Who wants to gather all here to watch this kid Huiqing accept the inheritance? It's strange that these people can hold back for a year without doing anything. Even if you do, you have to leave the Eclosion continent. This is the rule set by those Dao monarchs. Now the Yuhua continent is empty. Only here is where there are tens of thousands of Dayan immortal powerhouses. And all the other Dayan immortals have left the Yuhua continent. Nowadays, the protagonist on this continent is Huiqing. He is the first Dayan immortal to accept the inheritance of the Temple of Qi. Under the full view of everyone, he accepted the treasure of inheritance. A long silver stick. The name reincarnation. Huiqing glanced at the crowd, and was a little surprised when she saw the Taoist monarchs. Now his strength can be said to have undergone a qualitative change. Although he has not reached the 9th round of consummation, his ultimate way has reached the 7th level. This is the peak of the previous life, but not the end of this life. Looking at everyone, he just nodded. 5 Dao monarchs, dozens of half-travel monarchs, the upper limit Dayan immortal, and the 10,000 peak Dayan immortals outside. This battle seems to be indispensable today. You are very strong to be able to let Qishan Temple actively descend the inheritance, but I am not convinced. He was talking about the second-ranked breaking army, and his true strength was also ranked in the top 3. But he was not the emperor in the big power, and the title of Daojun was only in the original star. Huiqing smiled slightly, and the long stick tilted. It goes without saying that he would fight if he wanted to fight. Haha, good. Wanqing Daojun clapped his hands and said, "Monk, we don't make it difficult for you. As long as you defeat me one by one, you can leave." As soon as Wanqing Daojun's words came out, everyone onlookers took a breath. Lord Wu Dao is actually preparing for a real fight, and listening to the words of Dao Lord Wanqing. If Huiqing can't defeat them one by one, I am afraid he will walk out of here today. Jian Wushuang also frowned. His original intention of coming here was to save Huiqing. Although Huiqing had a lot of secrets, he was unwilling to join in. But after all, it was a fateful friendship, which could help him on Primordial Star. I still have to help. This is not the outside world. Anyway, there is no emperor. Chapter 52-22. Now that he has advanced rank 9, under the Emperor, there are really not many that can kill him, at least on this primitive star. He has enough life-saving ability. Even Daojun can hardly kill him. Now that Hui Qing is being fought with Wu Daojun, Jian Wushuang will naturally stand up to help. Everyone 5-1, is it too bullying? Jian Wushuang was very decisive, stepping forward and standing next to Hui Qing. With his hands on his chest, a powerful breath rose up, and his eyes were full of fierce aura. This move not only surprised the onlookers, but also aroused the gaze of several Taoists. The public dared to touch the mold of a few of them. The person in front of him only looked at his appearance and strength, and he was able to reach the limit. He didn't expect to dare to stand up against them. Brother Wushuang. Hui Qing looked at Jian Wushuang beside him. Although he knew that Jian Wushuang had a lot of chassis, his strength was extremely powerful. But now it is the 5th Daojun, and many powerhouses. Once the two are down, I'm afraid these people will swarm them. Seeing Hui Qing's worry, Jian Wushuang shrugged and said plainly, "My secrets are no less than you. You can be stronger several times a year, and I can't be much worse." He is also telling the truth, and he is not weak at all when it comes to secrets. Although Hui Qing has a secret that involves the Emperor, he has dealt with the Emperor since he has become an immortal. Zhen Wuyang is strong enough. There are also many causes and effects between him and Zhen Wuyang, and there are secrets with many emperors in the Wanggu era. In the past, the small bottles on his body were filled with the remnants of the Emperor's soul. Although he disappeared in the Great Wilderness, no matter what said that he knew no less about the Emperor than Hui Qing. Now he has stepped into the Nineth ranked Dayan Immortal. His strength has doubled several times. His own strength is already the limit of the Dayan Immortal. If you count the eyes of the beast and the universe, Dao Sovereign is really not afraid. It was just a few Dao monarchs who surrounded him. Their legs trembled a little. Daojun Lingshuang, as the only female Daojun, is moody. Seeing Jian Wushuang dared to help at this moment, he leaked a smile and said, "You are more interesting than a demon monk. I will meet you." Jian Wushuang could see at a glance that she was the Lingshuang Daojun among the 5 great Dao masters. "Brother Wushuang, you can help me by the side, leave it to me." Hui Qing stepped out and faced Taoist Lingshuang. Jian Wushuang shook his head and said with a sad expression, "Lingshuang Daojun, her name is very similar to an old friend of mine, let me come." Cold frost, cold without frost. There are countless worlds separated by one word. Boom! Jian Wushuang let go of his hands, and a divine sword appeared in his hands. Sword intent is full of the world. This is the sword fairy. Since he comprehended the Ju-Xian formation, Jian Wushuang had a new understanding of the word Ju. How to become immortals endlessly. The breath was reversed, and the eye of the beast also exploded with unprecedented power at this moment. Jian Wushuang's divine body instantly soared to more than 6,000 times, and directed towards Lord Lingshuang. Seeing this, Hui Qing could only stop other Taoists. "Don't worry, I'm only interested in you." As soon as Pojin's voice fell, an épée appeared in his hand, and the inscription above was shining with golden light, exploding with endless power, which is obviously the best in the innate treasure. Hui Qing's long stick was used as a spear, and pierced directly. The other 3 Dao monarchs retreated one after another, and the Blood Moon Dao monarch looked at the fight with great interest, and he was not in a hurry. They all knew that it was impossible to the inheritance of Hui Qing, but they were not convinced. What to do then? They could only fight one game. They wanted to see what Hui Qing had in the end, so that Qishan Temple could send an inheritance specifically for him. The Emperor Wanqing Tian and Dao Xiaotian were also standing aside. They came from great powers and had a lot of knowledge. This time they came to see Hui Qing's strength, not jealous, but to see how the eyes of the Qishan Temple are. Both of them are Emperor sons. They are the palanquin of a big power, and they don't even bother to be jealous of others' inheritance. The powerful fluctuations made the two of them flutter, but they couldn't shake their figures. Although some Dayan immortals in the periphery were far away, the ones with poor strength were not even a star or a half away, and they were all dissipated by this qi wave. This made the peaks of De Yinxian couldn't help but breathe in a cold breath, and sighed secretly. Is this the battle of Taoist monarchs? It's too scary. If they get closer, they won't even be able to resist the aftermath. This is the difference in origin. They are all 9 ranks consummation, but some people can compare with the Emperor with Dian Immortal, top peak extreme Taoist half-step Emperor. This also corresponds to the 5 different origin avenues. Everything was chosen by themselves, and now they can't blame anyone. The battle of such a strong man is terrible. Someone held their breath, staring at the core of the battle. 2 Dao monarchs fight against 2 newly promoted powerhouses. One of them is a demon monk, who has the strength of the ultimate Dian Immortal, but now he has Dao monarch combat power. The other one of them doesn't know who it is, but with their breath, they can tell that they are at least half-walking monarch. Otherwise it is impossible to fight against Lingshuang Taoist. This person is Jian Wushuang. I remember he, a Dafeng Dian Immortal, struggled to resist the impact of the air wave. Jian Wushuang? Everyone was puzzled. They had never heard of this name. After all, many Dian Immortals entered the Temple of Qishan before they had time to watch the Cosmos Gods and Demons list. The familiar powerhouse was also the powerhouse that this primitive star ranked first. There is absolutely nothing wrong with him. He is Jian Wushuang, and he and the demon monk are both in the Buddha realm. I have seen him in Qishui Hall. Everyone was shocked. Both of them belonged to the world of Tongtian Buddhism. There were 2 Taoist masters in one world, and the name Tongtian Buddhism was not a high world, but just a middle world. There are only 100 higher worlds in the primitive universe, and the entire universe is still mostly in the middle world. Most of the names of the higher worlds are known to them by Dian Immortals, but it was the first time they heard the name of the Tongtian Buddha realm, and they naturally assumed it was the middle world. Suddenly 2 Taoist masters emerged. This world can never be an inferior world. Boom! The roar kept coming out. Jian Wushuang's ears buzzed. Fortunately, the innate treasure armor on his body can be superimposed and weakened. Otherwise the battle fluctuations between Huiqing and Pejuan alone could injure him. The strength is still a bit weak, Jian Wushuang secretly said in his heart. Heart sword test. Wow. Slash out with one sword, and the huge sword shadow is full of heart power. This sword is the core sword move of the 6th level of ultimate sword. Now Jian Wushuang's heart power and kendo are much stronger. It is not comparable to Moron. Especially it is that he has achieved rank 9 now, and his strength has changed qualitatively. In the sky, hundreds of millions of years of cultivation have been completely transformed, and breakthroughs in the future will not be so easy. Chapter 52-23. Remembrance. 1,000 years passed, and he entered the realm of Grand Yan Immortal. Following his master, Elder San Shou, he ventured into ancient ruins, carving out a great reputation, becoming a prince, with the prospect of ascending to the emperor position in the future. During that time Wuliang Buddha, who had long attained enlightenment, noticed him. There was a subtle karmic connection between the two. Tao Lord Tianji had also visited Wuliang Buddha, seeking guidance on the cycle of cause and effect, life and death. From Wuliang Buddha, he learned that to become an emperor, one had to search for fragments of human origin source of the heavenly realm. Though humans were weak, they still possessed their own fragments of origin source, albeit only considered as destiny shards, far from reaching the level of true origin source. However, with a sufficient number of humans, they still constituted a part of the world's origin source. With this understanding, Tianji became even more obsessed. To become the strongest emperor, he pushed the great Tao to its extreme, eventually mastering the ultimate Tao. Later, under the recommendation of Elder San Shou, he became a direct disciple of Emperor Dongyan, dedicating himself to cultivation solely for the sake of achieving the ultimate Tao. The ultimate emperor. Since ancient times, only one person had succeeded in this endeavor. But Tianji paid no heed to such constraints. He was determined to achieve it even if no one else had. Dongyan saw his disciple's determination and understood that Wuliang Buddha had played a trick. However, the scars in his disciple's heart could only be healed by himself. No one else could help him. With lingering wounds in his heart and an incomplete state of mind, mastering the ultimate Tao, especially the Tao merging, was exceptionally difficult. Among the billions of cultivators, only a single person could possibly succeed. Even though Tianji possessed extraordinary talent that amazed the world, in the end, he too failed to achieve Tao unity. He fell before Emperor Dongyan. Before attempting to merge the Tao, he had visited the Valley of Rebirth, which remained unchanged. Under his protection, the valley appeared just as it did 10,000 years ago, with Red Girl's tombstone standing in its place, untouched by time. He still wore his Taoist robe, albeit with a few more traces of wind and frost. Looking at the tombstone, Dong Yin had once advised him to forget. But he didn't know how to forget, nor did he dare to. This was the driving force behind his desperate cultivation. If he forgot, he might as well have stayed honestly in the Taoist temple, growing old in solitude. On the day before he merged with the Tao, he made a promise when he left this canyon. I won't let you wait too long. If you can't find me, I will come down to find. His confidence in merging with the Tao was never high. His eventual demise was not unexpected. However, when he fell, there was a smile on his face, and a tear lingered in the corner of his eye as he looked up at the sky. You found me after all. Memories flooded back. Scenes flashed before his eyes, and the Tianji smiled faintly, as if from ancient times, willingly embracing death, erasing everything. Virtuous, Hu Qing clasped his hands together, and everything before him turned into ashes. In the midst of Hu Qing's reluctant roar, the red-robed Hu Qing completely disappeared from his heart. Now his Tao heart was the only one, calm as still water. At this moment, he was the only one, and there was no more Tianji in the world. Reincarnation, Hu Qing silently recited, a smile appearing on his lips. The aura enveloping the origin source rotated repeatedly, just like the countless glances in his previous life. What did it matter if there were countless cycles? Buzz! The origin source trembled, and that aura had nowhere to escape. It was suppressed by Hu Qing's ultimate origin source, and eventually turned into a breath. This breath had been accumulating in Hu Qing's heart for 30 million years, and now it finally dissipated completely. In the sea of origin source, true spirit danced with joy, praising, "This child can truly achieve the ultimate emperor. This is my achievement," he sneered. "Those fools dared to question me breaking the rules. Damn rules are meant to be shattered by the strong. Clinging to regulations blindly will only lead to downfall." True spirit was right. The rules of the Qishan were once strict, and the god's dominance cast a shadow over the entire galaxy, establishing a reign that dominated numerous streams of time and space. But in the end, it was all ephemeral. Ultimacy is just the beginning, young one, keep striving. The Feather Continent. At this moment, Hu Qing had fully mastered the reincarnation inheritance. He took a deep breath, expelling all the impurities. Now he truly transcended. As the inheritance concluded, the outer barrier dissipated. A group of strong beings lay in wait, observing intently. With the disappearance of the barrier, a great battle was imminent. Tao Lord Wan Xing exuded an overwhelmingly domineering aura, dispersing the numerous Grand Yin immortals around him. Monster Monk Hu Qing? Other Tao Lords also approached. On Tao Lord Shui Yu's mountain, a crimson hue swirled around, signifying the countless strong individuals who had perished at his hands. Many Grand Yin immortals had begun to retreat. Now, only the top-level Grand Yin immortals and some half-step Tao Lords remained. It's truly spectacular, so many strong individuals. Jian Wushuang marveled from his hiding spot in the crowd, having just arrived not long ago. When he emerged from seclusion, he was surprised. Why, after a year had passed, had his ranking not changed at all? Many other strong individuals' rankings remained unchanged too. He thought they had all become more docile, avoiding conflicts. Who would have thought they would all gather here to witness Hu Qing, this young man, accepting the inheritance? It was strange that these people could hold back for a whole year without taking action. Even if they did want to act, they had to leave the Feather Transformation continent. Those were the rules set by the Tao Lords. Now the continent was nearly empty. Only here did tens of thousands of Grand Yin immortals gather. All other Grand Yin immortals had left the continent. Now the protagonist on this continent was Hu Qing. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, he became the first Grand Yin immortal to accept the inheritance of the Qixin Temple. In front of everyone, he accepted the treasure of the inheritance, a silver-colored staff, named Samsara. Wuxia glanced at the crowd, and was somewhat surprised when he saw those Tao lords. His strength had undergone a qualitative change. Although he hadn't reached the perfected 9 revolutions, his ultimate Tao had reached the 7th level. This was the peak of his past life, but not the end point of this life. Looking at everyone, he just nodded. 5 Tao lords, dozens of half-step Tao lords, top-level Grand Yin immortals, and thousands of peak-level Grand Yin immortals on the periphery. This formation indicated that there would likely be a great battle today. To make the Qixin Temple voluntarily bestow the inheritance, you must be strong. But I'm not convinced, spoke the second-ranked Po Jun. His true strength also ranked in the top 3, but he was not a prince within a major power. His title as a Tao Lord was only in the original planet. Wuxia smiled faintly, the staff slanted. It was self-evident. If they wanted to fight, then they would fight. Haha, good. Tao Lord Wanxing applauded. Monk, we won't make it difficult for you. If you can defeat each of us one by one, you can leave. As Tao Lord Wanxing spoke, the onlookers gasped in shock. The 5 Tao Lords were actually planning a round-robin battle. Moreover, from Tao Lord Wanxing's tone, if Wuxia couldn't defeat each of them, he probably wouldn't leave here today. Jian Wuxuang furrowed his brows. He had come here with the intention of saving Wuxia. Although Wuxia had many secrets, he didn't want to get involved. Nevertheless, it was a matter of life and death friendship. If he could help him on the original planet, he would do it. After all, there were no emperors here anyway. Chapter 52-24. This secret method not only increased his divine body to tens of thousands of times, but even his power of growth was transformed into the power of reincarnation, due to the practice of reincarnation. This is a breath tens of thousands of times stronger than Yanli. Boom! The silver long stick collided with the sharp broken solid, making a roar, which was even more shocking than the fight between the two. This roar made the frost and snow world unstable, and the ice crystal phoenix screamed from the sky. Jian Wuxuang also took the opportunity to pull away, and a strand of shadow sword appeared in his palm, and suddenly threw it out, approaching the ice crystal phoenix. Daojun Lingshuang's brows condensed, and it turned out that although ice crystal phoenix had a Taoist level in combat power, her intelligence was too low. Although she controlled it secretly, she could not fully control it. If you can completely control the ice crystal phoenix, it would be too abnormal. When participating in the melee, 1 Daojun suddenly became 2 Daojun. This is a double change in quality and quantity. The wisp of the phantom sword made Daojun Lingshuang feel uncomfortable, feeling that the aura in it was too terrifying, and quickly recalled the ice crystal phoenix, but it was too late. On Huiqing's side, the more and more fierce the war, he gradually pressed Pejuan to fight. The original fierce attack on Pejuan had to defend, but the slow defense couldn't stop Huiqing, until he really hit a stick before he suddenly fought back. The stick hit his waist, and a twitching abdomen instantly reached his chest. He sucked in a cold breath and suppressed the blood in his chest, but the divine body had to change his figure to an ordinary size because the stick began to break down. Just a stick broke his defense, causing a lot of loss to the divine body. There was a chill on his back and a cold sweat broke out. How can it be so strong? But without waiting for him to think, the long stick attacked again, still a fierce attack, and he had to defend. A stick. 2 sticks, 10 sticks, 100 sticks, 1,000 sticks, 10,000 sticks, 1,000,000 sticks. More fierce and stronger than ever. The broken army was about to collapse, and he could no longer fight, so he could only retreat. Jian Wuxuang's form has also changed. As soon as the phantom sword came out, it sneaked on the ice crystal phoenix, which not only gave him a chance to breathe, but also gained the upper hand. Although there is no blessing from the universe, the current phantom sword is not what it used to be. With just 1 sword, the ice crystal phoenix was cut down and wounded. Although Tao Sovereign's combat power, the ice crystal phoenix's defense was very fragile. A sword broke through its ice blade and directly inserted it into its body. Taoist Ling Shuang didn't care at first. The ice crystal phoenix was just a summoning object. Even if it was attacked by a sneak attack, it wouldn't hurt to get a little bit injured. But what she didn't expect was that since the ice crystal phoenix received that sword, the essence contained in her body began to shed. This was the first time she encountered this kind of thing, and she didn't know how to deal with it for a while. So she could only attack Jian Wushuang desperately. The Tao contained in the ice crystal phoenix is her Tao, and the two are originally one. Haha, I know it hurts now. Jian Wushuang's figure is like a ghost, and he hasn't paid attention to the Daojun who was running away. Feeling that it was not right to deal with the breath, Jian Wushuang's figure instantly changed, knowing that Daojun Lingshuang was going to work hard. That was the source. How many years of hard work was swallowed by him? No one would have to work hard. Jian Wushuang felt that the form was wrong. His breath reversed and exited the entire ice and snow world, not fighting head-on with Daojun Lingshuang. Jian Wushuang. Taoist Lingshuang roared unwillingly. In the end, she had to risk being bitten back and forcibly recover the ice crystal phoenix. But her origin was also lost a lot, and the loss was comparable to the complete origin of some peak Dian immortals. After Jian Wushuang succeeded, standing in the distance, Xing Mao remained unchanged. Why, we must continue to fight. Facing Jian Wushuang's sarcasm, Lord Lingshuang's face paled. If fighting head-on, Jian Wushuang would definitely not be her opponent. But the wisp of phantom sword was too weird, and the evil aura contained in it made her a little shocked. But without ice crystal phoenix one-on-one, she really couldn't do anything with Jian Wushuang. When the audience saw this, they were extremely shocked, and at the same time they secretly recorded Jian Wushuang. Although this person had no positive strength at the level of the Taoist, the threat was even more terrifying than the Taoist. The Lingshuang Daojun that could drive him mad, and even hurt Daojun. This kind of character is no longer something they can provoke. In the future, pay attention to this Jian Wushuang. His true strength should not reach the level of the prince. But this person's methods are too weird, more threatening than the prince. A half-step prince looked jealous. Watching after this battle, he had a new understanding of Daojun. If he faced the Lingshuang Daojun and the ice crystal phoenix, or was in the frost snow world, he would definitely fall, let alone crack it. He would not even be able to resist. That's the power of the two Taoist monarchs. Neither one of them was an opponent, let alone two besieged together. Look, Pajuan can't hold on anymore. Everyone just took a breath from Jian Wushuang's side, and once again looked at Huiqing and Pajuan with trepidation. Jian Wushuang was playing with the phantom sword in his hand in the distance, and was not going to take care of the injured Lingshuang Daojun. Knowing that she was also a wise man, the two of them could do nothing, and it would be boring to fight. Although he can threaten Daojun Lingshuang, he is really going to take the initiative when he is a second hand. If the phantom sword encounters Daojun Lingshuang, she will be more careful. Moreover, there is really no need for the two of them to fight to death. But there are still two Dao monarchs staring at him. The strongest Dao monarch Wanqing, and the most ruthless Blood Moon have yet to do anything. If you really want to fight to the death, it's cheaper than others. However, if he really wants to fight to death, Jian Wushuang is also confident. Once the universe is formed, his strength can be doubled. When superimposed with the Eye of the Beast God, his combat power will soar to the level of Dao Sovereign. Lingshuang Daojun left. Of course, all of this is without interference from outsiders. If Lingshuang Daojun still has a whole card, or other Daojun intervenes, then he is not very sure. Now that he put away the power of the Beast God's eye, his breath shrank, and he began to watch Huiqing's fight. Daojun Lingshuang changed her breath, and began to restore the strength she had consumed. As for the lost origin, she would really be unable to make up for it for a while. But fortunately, the loss was not too much, and it had little effect on her strength. In this battle she didn't get any benefits. Instead, Jian Wushuang stepped on her fame, and transformed the continent, which made her remember this shame, and sooner or later she would get it back from Jian Wushuang. But thinking of the swallowing power, her eyes shrank. If it weren't in the Temple of Qishan, she would definitely ask the emperor, what kind of method was this? It was too weird. On the other side, Huiqing is even more weird than Jian Wushuang. The power of reincarnation was so powerful that Dao's sovereign Wanqing was moved. The battle between Jian Wushuang and Dao Junlingshuang, he hasn't paid attention to it. It's just a few sideways. If he confronts Lingshuang, the ice crystal phoenix will not threaten him at all. And he will even break with a punch the ice crystal phoenix. Chapter 52-25. Huiqing's side is different. It's really powerful. It's an absolute Dao sovereign combat power. And it's still the top existence among Dao sovereign. With strong combat power and the suffocating stick technique, Huiqing's suppression power against Dao Jun is terrible. The crowd onlookers only saw the magnificent moves of Jian Wushuang and Dao Junlingshuang, the world of Heart Sword and the world of Frost, and the Ice Crystal Phoenix of Dao Jun level. Although these methods are magnificent, it is always personal strength that Dao Jun really values. Only strong personal strength can make people convinced. Just like Huiqing now, one person, one stick, there are no fancy and gorgeous moves. But every stick of his can injure Dao Jun. The stick method is completely self-contained, and every move and try seems ordinary, but there is something in it. Power, but it is extremely magnificent. This is the power of inheritance reincarnation. Huiqing erased her heart's misfortune, completely cut off her previous life, reached the realm where the heart is like still water, and her strength has improved by leaps and bounds. But these are not as powerful as reincarnation. The true spirit is worthy of being the true spirit of the Qishan temple. And the inheritance of reincarnation is really suitable for Huiqing. At this 9th revolution, he pressed Dao Jun to fight. Jian Wushuang stood on the spot and was a little shocked by Huiqing's strength. He is 4, Huiqing 6. Even with the strongest means, absolute immortal formation, Jian Wushuang would not be able to consume the power of death and transform into the power of reincarnation Huiqing. As for devouring the source, Huiqing has the innate treasure, and also has the innate treasure suit Zhen Yulo in its secrecy ability. On this primordial star, no one can threaten Huiqing again. Jian Wushuang had no jealousy in his heart. Although he lost the inheritance, he was not discouraged at all. In the future, who is strong and who is weak may still be weak. Although it can be seen that Huiqing's breath has changed drastically at this time. I am afraid that the heart catastrophe has passed. It seems that it has passed. However, under the eyes of his beast god, Huiqing still had 2 thick causal lines on his body, and he could only see one of these 2 lines clearly. It's related to the emperor? Jian Wushuang raised his brows, and then sneered. This is the temple of Qishan, and it doesn't matter when you go out. Even if it is related to the emperor, it is after the temple of Qishan. The emperor who can threaten Huiqing. Jian Wushuang's mind turned, and he really couldn't guess who it was. It would never be the emperor who was jealous that Huiqing got the chance in the temple of Qishan. So let's kill him. Don't say it, it's very possible. If you look at the current broken army, you will know that there are some people among the emperors who stay in the 2nd class for their entire lives and cannot break through. They are also extremely jealous of those shocking arrogances, and they can enter the 4th, or even the 5th step, after becoming the emperor. But they didn't dare to show it in front of those strong men. They could only vent their anger with Dayan immortals. Huiqing is a person from the world of Tongtian Buddhism, and a novice monk on Mount Wuliang. He is considered to be an emperor's lineage. Although he is not a master or apprentice, he is practicing in the monarch's Taoist temple. Trouble with Huiqing. Jian Wushuang couldn't figure it out, so he didn't think about it. As for the 2nd line of cause and effect, he couldn't understand it. These are the side effects brought about by the evildoer itself. No one who is strong will have a lifeless life. And the road of the strong is not so easy. The real Wuyang in the Great Division region has walked on how many corpses of emperors to reach this point? Although the Tongtian Buddha has inherited the broken heavens, is it really because of a broken higher world that the Tongtian Buddha is so powerful? Although Jian Wushuang didn't know the battle power of the emperor, he also knew that the Great Siyu was only a middle world, And the real Wuyang, who could control the middle world, was not weaker than the masters of those higher worlds. There is a gap between the origin and the treasure, but it is more because the path chosen is different. Road to the strong. Jian Wushuang clenched his fists. He still doesn't know where his road to the strong is. The pressure of Ji Dao kept him out of breath. Now Ji Dao is only on the 4th level, and the progress is too slow. Although the ultimate way has broken through one after another, it can only be worthy of the 6th level. Mind power is only at the 4th level, and he has no confidence in mind power, and he doesn't know when he can break through. In general, the powerhouse of the 2nd stage avenue. In Dian Immortal, the 9th level of consummation is the highest level of Taoism, which forms the effect of double consummation with the 9th revolution. At least many 4th-order emperors took this path. Lengshuang Daojun, Pajun and other Daojun also walked this way. The entire primitive universe can embark on this road. There are only 1,000 people, but it is possible that all of them can go ashore at the end. No, it is really their greatest luck to be able to appear in the Temple of Qixin in this era. And it may be possible to get out of the seedlings of several, or even dozens of 4th-order emperors. For now, they haven't seen Dian Immortal's shortcut to become the emperor, and they still don't have the answer to the secrets of Deci Yuang's ancient times. The only surviving Lu Crow did not mention it. Those emperors were also lazy to ask. They were more concerned about it, not something that the Dian Immortals like Jian Wushuang could match. The road of the ultimate path is the most special. It cannot be regarded as the road of the strong, but a dark road if other 4th-order emperors come ashore. There will be a dazzling sun on the road of the strong. Then there is only a dim oil lamp on the road to the ultimate way. I give you a ray of light, but I can't illuminate the path under your feet. Countless times have passed, and the gleam of light is still there, but no passerby was seen. Lonely, dark, and helpless. This is the ultimate way. Jian Wushuang's breathing was a little trembling, and he sighed. Where is Ji Dao? Luna. No way. The more I think about it, the more afraid he becomes. He didn't want to come to the Temple of Qixin at the beginning, but now he is glad to have entered. This is also thanks to Zhen Wuyang. He will not be sent to the frontier, nor will he enter this Temple of the Gods. And he still has a premonition in his heart that he feels that the Temple of the Gods is opened by him. Although a little self-confident, it is really possible. The Temple of Qixin, as a legacy left by the ancient mighty man, might be able to find out information about the Ji Dao from it, so that he doesn't have to walk forward in the dark. He is now afraid that he will find a fork in the middle of the walk, and will not be able to turn back. Jian Wushuang's goal of becoming a strong man has never changed. No matter who he used to do, now he only wants to live for himself once. For myself, for strength, for eternity, bright in the infinite starry sky. Daojun blood moon in the distance moved slightly, although a bit of thought has been thinking about other things. But Jian Wushuang is so powerful that he has just left, and he saw that his figure was immediately blocked in front of him. Blood moon, you'd better not do it, Jian Wushuang said coldly. This is not a threat, but he has a strong confidence. The battle with Leng Shuang just now gave him an understanding of his own strength, and now Daojun is no more than that. Chapter 52-26. If it was the Wanqing Daojun, he might still be jealous, but the Blood Moon Daojun really didn't take it seriously. Although he ranks first in this primitive star, his methods are also the most transparent, and he has a set of methods to deal with the weak, and those methods that meet him of the same rank are not easy to use. Jian Wushuang right. Shuiyue Daojun was not angry, but looked at Jian Wushuang with a faint smile, and then said, Your strength is really interesting. If you think him the same as that stupid Lingshuang, then you are miscalculating. Up. As soon as the voice fell, the blood moon condensed, and the heaven and the earth lost its color. Before Jian Wushuang had time to do it, the Wanqing Daojun blasted out with a punch, directly breaking the blood moon. One-on-one, that's one-on-one. No one is allowed to intervene. I said you can't change it. Wanqing Daojun's breath rises, extremely domineering, and constant pressure on everyone. This domineering, let everyone take a breath. Everyone in his presence was familiar with that momentum. They were all pinnacles. And in their respective worlds, they were also pinnacle powerhouses other than the emperor. The emperor is no stranger to them, but the momentum exuded by the 10,000 stars just reminds them of the powerful emperor. How is it possible? The Blood Moon was also very surprised. He didn't expect Wan Xing to be so strong, and he broke his unique knowledge with one move. In the same rank, although he is not the top, he is not the bottom one. Jian Wushuang, who just wanted to do it, was also taken aback. It was too strong. The punch just now looked ordinary, but it was so powerful that it made people tremble. Wanxing, Daojun Lingshuang's eyes also showed horror. Originally everyone was about the same strength. Even if they were strong, they would be stronger. Now Wanxing suddenly broke out, piercing the Blood Moon's magical powers with one punch. The pinnacle powerhouse on the outside was also shocked at this time. That domineering aura was too strong, and it could be clearly felt from such a distance. With this breath, is Wan Xing a half-step emperor? Someone asked in doubt. They were very familiar with that breath. It was impossible for them to admit their mistakes. It definitely had a little power of the emperor. Few country bumpkins know what a fart. The speaker was one of the 10 emperors of the Daluo realm. It is also the only Dayan immortal in the Great Luo realm on the emerging continent. Wanxing Daojun, born in the Star Luo realm, and the Luo realm are considered to be the same power. He knows more, and he began to brag. Brother Wanxing, but he has cultivated our Deluotian's supreme knack, and his strength can be comparable to those perfect ultimate Dayan immortals. What a half-step emperor. Supreme unique? Everyone took another breath. That is the unique knowledge that emperors are qualified to practice. This kind of faculty is generally not taught to Dayan immortals, because they can't cultivate either, unless it is a great way of origin that fits very well with them, or the inheritance of faculty is related to themselves. Just like Hui Qing, the inheritance of reincarnation fits him very well, and it will be considered as a complete acceptance in the end. Ordinary people want to practice fascinating learning, and the difficulty is no less than that of harmony. There are still some great supernatural powers suitable for Dayan immortal. Admire. Cultivating the emperor's unique learning. No wonder it is so powerful. It can be comparable to the half-step emperor, and the combat power is close to the ultimate existence. If the harmony is successful, I am afraid that the primitive universe will have another fifth-order existence. A half-walking monarch slowly said that he is also the proud son of a certain big world, and he knows a lot about the emperor. In countless eras, there are evildoers who can truly illuminate an entire era. Anyone who has cultivated the emperor's unique knowledge, not in Dayanxian, and finally succeeded in joining the Tao, just entered the emperor is the fourth-order combat power. After entering the long river of time and space, after hundreds of millions of years, he broke through to the level of the fifth-order emperor. Everyone admires it very much. After all, it is comparable to the ultimate existence. Jian Wushuang was also extremely shocked. Wan Xing's strength surpassed his cognition, and besides the emperor, this was the strongest Dayan immortal he had encountered. One punch can break Daojun's magical powers. Even if he used his full strength, he didn't have the confidence to fight against the Wanxing Daojun. Fortunately, there is the arrogance that the strong have. That is the arithmetic of speech. 1 to 1 is 1 to 1. Now Hui Qing will be able to defeat Pejuan immediately, if she is against tens of thousands of stars later. Jian Wushuang had already retreated somewhat. He didn't know that in the sea of origin of the Qixin temple, the real spirit with the fluttering flesh beard looked very comfortable. This little bald head is really good. Zhenling looked at the powerful Hui Qing in the sky with satisfaction. Although it was just a good sentence, the true spirit is the master of the entire Qixin temple. And now there are countless powerful people in the Qixin temple. There are also tens of thousands of emperors, to be precise, tens of thousands of emperors and powerful men. Hui Qing is the only one who can evaluate him. Well, this piece of uncut jade is considered to be on the Tao after this tribulation. You can't be anxious to come one by one. Last time, the Yanxian died, and you have to adjust it slowly. Junling muttered to himself. Countless strong men are nothing but ants in his eyes. They are all stones that need to be polished. If it is jade, polish it well, and throw it aside if it is a stone. Seeing Jian Wushuang's true spirit from the sky, frowned. How come this little thing is not dead? According to his layout, Jian Wushuang should have been killed by Daojun. Damn, he escaped again. This Lingshuang is really a waste, just like those old bacons a waste. Really, Aura jumped and yelled. Ha! The Sea of Origin swayed for a while. And as soon as the spirit guard came in, he heard the words Lao Baru. His face sank, and his black face drifted to the real spirit. Zhenling was also a little embarrassed. He tidied up his appearance, clenched his fist and coughed, then calmly said, Lao Qi is here, so how is the Four Secret Realm going on? Since waking up, he discovered that the world in the Temple of Qishan had changed too much. The 4 domains of the year have now become 4 secret realms. There were also a lot of powerhouses born inside, too many to make it difficult for the White Tiger Palace to suppress. If it were not for the 13 spirit guards to assist the White Tiger Palace in guarding the 4 secret realms in the past few years, I am afraid that the body of the gods will have big problems. My lord, something has gone wrong over the secret realm, the guardian said truthfully. True Spirit was stunned, and came to him when something went wrong, which showed that it was beyond the scope of the 6th Order Emperor's ability. This surprised him a little. The natives in the Qishan Temple cannot achieve the top of the universe. Although the Sea of Origin is stronger than the origin of some universes, these are not innate. How exactly? Zhenling's face also became serious. It's the Forest of 10,000 Treasures, the guardian replied. Zhenling's eyes shrank, and this was the first time he got serious after he recovered. Go and see. The guardians were not surprised at this. The Forest of 10,000 Treasures was a place that the old master cared very much about. When the secret realm was built, the of the gods moved some places that were once reluctant to move into the secret realm of the Temple of the Gods. Chapter 52-27. 3Q Chinese website, the fastest update of Wandao Jianzuan. Primitive realm, whether it was Dian Immortal or Emperor, was moving forward for their own powerful path, and did not know that a massacre occurred in another place in the Qishan Temple. On Mayin Mountain, Immeasurable Buddha is still ahead of all Third-Order Emperors, but he has not surpassed any Fourth-Order Emperor. Whenever he hurried to catch up with the Fourth-Order Emperor, he stopped practicing, and after the opponent walked far away, he walked again. Others didn't care about this move, but the Buddha who walked in front had a panoramic view. The two have been fighting for so many years, but he knows Wuliang very well. Be careful, cautious and vicious. This is the label the two of them gave each other. Although his strength is far beyond boundless, he has been wary of this fellow student over the years. Both are from Buddhism, but Tao is different. He inherited the world of Tongtian, but Wuliang inherited the Bodhi tree. The Bodhi tree is the supreme sacred object of the mind power practitioners. The entire primitive universe has found the second one. Although he does not cultivate mind power, he is also greedy. But that tree on Mount Wuliang, just like growing in the heart of Wuliang Buddha, it was too difficult for him to fight. If you take it forcibly, you may not get anything in the end, but it will ruin his reputation in Buddhism. He is the master of the heavenly Buddha, but there are still many people who are older than him in Buddhism. But the strength is great, and he can inherit the heavenly realm. Squinting and looking down the mountain, Tongtian Buddha turned his head and leaked a smiling face, continuing to pester Zhen Wuyang. Brother Gui, slow down. Tongtian Buddha quickly took a step to keep up with Zhen Wuyang. Zhen Wuyang, who was walking in front, was extremely annoyed when he heard this. Tongtian, don't go too far. Emperor Zhenwu, not a tortoise. Good. Brother Turtle and Snake, if you don't tell me your name, title is too good. Tongtian Buddha said with an innocent look. Tongtian Buddha was called Mengcha when he was mundane. In order to get close to Zhen Wuyang, he told Zhen Wuyang all his milk names. But Zhen Wuyang didn't want to say anything. This made Tongtian Buddha feel at a loss, and has been entangled with Zhen Wuyang. In front of the two of them, is the first echelon on Mayan Mountain today, the leaders of the peak forces of Wind and Rain Demon Lord. Mountainside, we will be here soon. The struggling walker secretly determined that he would correct it as soon as he reached the mountainside. The remaining Fourth Order Peak Emperors were also secretly competing, and no one was willing to stop. They didn't know that on the mountainside, there were a group of ghostly ghosts waiting for a meal. In the outer world, the trial of evolving immortals is also in full swing. However, in the world of Yangxian's trial, the flow of time is 1,000,000 times slower than that of the primitive world. Now Yangxian has been trialing for thousands of years, from the beginning of the trial of Xuanwu Temple. After screening out a large number of talented immortals, they began a series of training. Unlike many big forces, they did not use resources to train the strong. It's the cultivation of Gu test. Even the inheritance is a 2-to-2 competition. One round of training seems to be not very competitive, but in fact half of them are screened every time. After tens of thousands of years, these immortals have also been divided into several batches. Inside the Xuanwu Hall, Devil Lord Jazzy Camp is full. In the Xuanwu Hall, the one sitting at the highest point was not the puppet Xuani, but a taboo demon lord. If this is seen by others, it is absolutely shocking. Especially if the true spirit is so jealous of the forbidden demon master, who swallows the avenue. Why would he become a respected demon master in the Xuanwu Hall? Well, you can start the B character camp. The black-robed demon's eyes drooped, playing with a small puppet in his hand. Yes, the visitor said respectfully. Without waiting for him to walk out, the taboo demon lord continued. By the way, those selected evangelists will be sent to the 7th world to help create emperor puppets. Recently, the 4 secret realms are not peaceful, so we have to help set it off. The visitor was stunned for a moment, then nodded and said yes. From beginning to end, the black-robed demon lord did not look up to look at people, still staring at the gadgets in his hands to tinker. Well, almost. His technique was extremely fast, turning the objects in his hand constantly, and he installed small parts, and finally formed a small object in the shape of a ball. Outside the Xuanwu Hall, a touch of scarlet flashed across, and a young woman in a red armor slowly walked in. After scanning around, she looked at the forbidden demon lord sitting above. What about the tortoise? Why is he not here? Isn't this your newly built nest? He won't come here to sit here? The visitor was Zhu Yi from the Vermilion Bird Palace. The black-robed demon master squeezed the small ball that had been formed in his hand, finally pulled his eyes away and looked at Zhu Yi. Turtle snake. As soon as the word turtle snake was uttered, the black-robed demon lord coughed and quickly changed his words. Brother Xian Yi went to the 3rd world to refine a 1,000-handed centipede. Well, that's right. The temple of Qishan is now open, and there are not many good days in the future. It is necessary to hurry up and prepare for vitality. Zhu nodded a little, a sadness in his eyes. The black-robed demon lord stood up and said politely, I heard Brother Xuani say about you, Hall Master Zhu Yi. This is the key, he said and handed out the small ball in his hand. Thank you very much. If it wasn't for the old man Jinling, I wouldn't have to ask you to borrow treasures. Zhu Yi said helplessly. Hearing the word true spirit, the black-robed demon master shuddered. His expression changed with extreme respect and said, The matter of Lord True Spirit, his subordinates will naturally go all out. Okay, he can't hear it again. What flattery you do. Even if he wakes up, he won't deal with you. You are the baby bump of the tortoise and snake. The puppets of the 10 worlds need you to refine. Even for the old puppet True Spirit won't deal with you either. Zhu Yi waved her hand, and she was also a little amused when she saw such a timid taboo demon lord. In her primitive world, there is also a forbidden demon master imprisoned, all of which was transformed by the great swallowing Tao. So the gap is so big. If the taboo demon lord had this kind of personality, it would be great. The Vermilion Bird Palace would also have a tier 6 combat power. Okay, I'm leaving. Zhu Yi tossed the ball in his hand, very satisfied. Hallmaster Zhu, go slowly. The black-robed demon master stood up to send him off. It wasn't until Zhu Yi's figure disappeared that he let out a sigh of relief. After a while, He returned to the throne again and began to study puppet drawings. After Zhu Yi got what he wanted, he tore the space back to the primitive world. Wow! The void was torn apart, and Zhu Yi, wearing a scarlet armor, appeared on the top of Mayin Mountain. The key she had just obtained was the key to opening the Mayin Mountain. When she fell down and saw the sparse figures on the mountain, she remembered that there are a group of emperors. Ha! 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 Zhu Yi's figure is very fast. Just a few flashes, and he went directly to the top of Mayin Mountain. Chapter 52-28. There was silence on the sloping path. Zhu Yi's figure is like a ghost, with his feet untouched for just 3 breaths, and he walked directly on the Wanzhong Mountain Road, and was at the top of the mountain. The other emperors on the mountain road, no matter how slow they were, felt the scarlet figures flashing in the gust of wind. On Wanzhong Mountain Road, these emperors have been walking for almost half a year, and none of them have reached the mountainside. Now suddenly there was someone who could climb to the top at will. They didn't even see the other's face clearly. Emperor? Or the messenger in the temple of Qishan? Although the strength of the indigenous people is also strong, haven't they said that they can't break the boundary? How come a super strong man suddenly appeared? Many powerhouses, their faces are ashen. Isn't this inheritance said to be good for them to compete for? How come a person suddenly appeared and directly boarded the top of the mountain? Wuliang had just taken 2,000 battles, standing in place with a black face. He has a bodhicitta tree, and there is no pressure to walk on this path. He has been planning to hide his strength and gradually improve, but now he has been swiftly ascended first. What's the matter? Zhu Yi, who climbed to the top of the mountain, looked back. The emperor below the mountain has a low view. Black demon, Zhu Yi said lightly. She still doesn't care about those emperors. There are not many who can become tier 5, and it's not enough to be cannon fodder for her. But she looks carefully at the clone of the demon master. The taboo demon lord, who was tied to the top of the mountain, broke free from the chains, gritted his teeth and stared. Zhu Yi Yuet, snapped. Clang bang tear. A pale golden thunder spread along the chain, and a dazzling electric light broke through the tough teeth of the black devil. No matter how rude, I will come over to torture you once a year. Zhu Yi moved his wrist, and looked at the restrained forbidden demon lord with unkind eyes. The black demon with broken teeth snorted, "Betrayer, it." As a part of the gods, the demon masters transformed into the Tao of devouring each claim to be gods, and they are extremely arrogant. The one in Xuanwu Temple is an exception. The wind demon, who was once one of the 5 great demon lords, is very peaceful and not irritable at all. Zhu Yi felt strange that they were all conscious bodies that were transformed into one Tao, so there was such a big gap. Stop talking nonsense, I didn't come here to trouble you. At the top of Mayin Mountain, in addition to the pillars and chains that bound the black demon, there is also a divine clock. The bells ring around each other, and the least who can resist the magic sound at such a close distance are the peak emperors of the 5th level of heart power. However, Zhu Yi possesses the exquisite heart of 7 orifices, and this magic sound can't interfere with her. Walking to the divine clock, Zhu Yi put the ball that Feng Emo gave her into the groove on the top of the divine clock. The powerful suction made her hand a little unstable, and almost was sucked in. Just letting go, the ball went into the groove and merged with the clock, making a buzzing sound, shaking Zhu Yi's hair on the top of his head. 3,000 red hairs fluttered and fluttered in the wind, across his expressionless face. The black demon backed away from the side, but he had the memory of this sacred clock, which was a treasure of the universe. It was originally damaged, but now it has been repaired. The familiar terror pressure made him shudder. A breeze on the top of the mountain caused a commotion down the mountain, and several peak emperors who had already gone out of 4,000 battles had to retreat. Let alone the rest of the emperors, they couldn't even stabilize their figure, and went backwards. What happened? Could it be that the heritage of the top of the mountain was taken away? A group of strong people resisted the oncoming wind head-on, resisting hard. Zhu Yi couldn't manage so much on the mountain, and he didn't care about the life and death of the emperors under the mountain. After the divine clock was completely restored to its former power, she put it away. The ball was just a missing part of the magic clock, and this clock was the key. Now the primitive world immediately begins the trial of inheritance, which is the second stage. The first stage is to let all dying immortals fight against each other and eliminate the weak. Now that they are alive more or less, they have to come up with some good things to sweeten them and continue to kill. Repairing this sacred clock is to start the trial of the primitive world. This is a very important part, a rule that was set in ancient times. This is also the reason why she is dissatisfied with the advancement of the true spirit. Everything has the order of the regulations and cannot be disrupted. Although she has a 7-orifice exquisite heart, which is no different from a cultivator, it is precisely because of this that she respects the gods very much. It is not only the who gave her life, but also the irreversible master. The divine clock was completely repaired, and Zhui didn't have the thought of staying here, just glanced at the dark demon coldly. As for the black demon clones, she didn't care at all, and she didn't bother to remind those emperors. It was that the black demon could summon so many clones at once, and each had tier 5 combat power, which surprised her a bit. It seems that even if his origin is suppressed by Moying Mountain, it is constantly getting stronger. The way of swallowing is really a curse. But now is not the time to think about this. After receiving the divine clock, her figure flashed and disappeared to the top of the mountain, and when she reappeared, she went into the void of the outside world, tore through the void at will, and enter a huge treasure house in the primitive world. This time 180 primordial stars opened the inheritance, and at least 180 suitable inheritances had to be selected from tens of thousands of inheritances. In the outside world, it can be regarded as the inheritance of the unique knowledge of the town, but it is randomly placed in this cave. The line of inheritance is like a Tianju. Zhui's mind is fast, and she has the exquisite heart of 7 orifices, and in just a few breaths, she selects 180 lines from the countless lineages. The sky pillar shrank and flew into Zhui's hands. After getting the inheritance, he went to other caves and began to select treasures. It's almost done, but the rules have to be changed a lot. Zhui's token flashed in his hand and retransmitted it to the Vermilion Bird Palace. At this time, in the Vermilion Bird Hall, there are still 4 Vermilion Bird envoys, each of which is a 5th-order emperor. The original intention for them to be refined was not to fight, but to manage the Temple of Qixin. But at this time they were forced to go to other universes to collect shocking talents. Good luck go to some universe with weak background. Even a 5th-order emperor can't touch it. Naturally, come and go freely, and there is also a bad luck. If you encounter a 6th-order emperor, if you don't use the big move road talisman, almost can't come back. Hallmaster, the shocking Hong Tianjiao in the nearby universe has almost plundered them, and now they have all been sent to the primitive secret realm. Zhui walked to the throne, sat down slowly and nodded. How many are there? About 1 million. Zhui rubbed his temples and said, then let them pass it on. The 4th child will do it, and the others will start the trial of inheritance on the primordial star. Those guardians are too unreliable. Such things can't be done by them anymore. Yes. Wow. A full 180 inheritance crystal pillars flew out and fell in front of a few people. After everyone was allocated, they left one by one. Chapter 52-29. This is the 2nd stage, and there is a 3rd stage behind. Moreover, the Xuanwu Temple has been accelerating in the world and has cultivated for thousands of years. With the correct guidance of the Qixin Temple, it will soon be a large number of large groups. When Yanxian appears, he will have to repeat the same mistakes. Screening at this scale, the treasures of the Temple of Qixin are consumed very quickly, and under the endless accumulation of treasures, there may not be a few eye-catching powerhouses in the end. Among the hundreds of millions of Dian immortals, it may be finally screened, and there are only less than 10,000 people who can enter the threshold of the Temple of Forbidding God. Yanxian Dianxian Emperor. Every step is extremely difficult, the difficulty of Master Yanxian mastering Dao, the difficulty of De Yanxian combining Dao, the difficulty of Emperor wanting to reach the top. These are not treasures that can be pushed flatly, except for the treasures, the cruel rules that can help them. A 9 primordial star feathered the continent. Broken! Hui Qing shouted angrily, swept the long stick, directly shattering the broken army's divine body, and the origin was all withered. Stop! Pajun couldn't hold on anymore, and he couldn't run away if he wanted to retreat. What many strong people look at is trembling. I originally thought that Hui Qing would fall today, and Lord Wu Dao came personally, but I didn't expect much to end up like this in the end. First, Jian Wushuang was born, and defeated Daojun Lingshuang upset, and then Daojun Wanqing revealed the half-step emperor's means to frighten everyone. Now Hui Qing is fighting the army and begging for mercy. This battle will change the division of the Eclosian continent. At least Jian Wushuang and Hui Qing are already ranked among the Dao monarchs, and they are still the top Dao monarchs. Wanqing Daojun's eyes revealed the intent to fight. Hui Qing's strength indeed exceeded his expectations, but it was also the best. He wanted this kind of opponent. On this primordial star, he hadn't paid attention to the other 4 Dao monarchs from the beginning, whether it was Lung Shuang or Blood Moon. The only breaking army, who felt a little bit interesting, was now beaten up by Hui Qing, which was utterly devastated. As for the Taoist Sundering Heaven, his strength just touched Taoist, and he has been using a secret treasure fox to fake tiger power. Among the 5 avenues, his strength is the weakest, and even the 6th-ranked Ji Chaoyang can resist him. Puff! A stick pierced Pojin's chest. Hui Qing stood proudly in the void and said coldly, "Hand over the token, you can spare your life." Although his personality has changed drastically, the kindness in this life has not been shaken. If you can kill it, you can't kill it. Jian Wushuang was watching from the side anxiously. If it weren't for Wanqing Daojun to stare at him, he would want to rush over and break the army. The 2nd-ranked Taoist monarch may have hundreds of millions of records on his body. If he is beheaded, the 2 will evenly divide the record and win the 1st and 2nd place of this original star. There are not many such opportunities. If it were normal, without the strength of Wanqing, it would be too difficult to kill Daojun. Since the matter has reached this point, Wanqing didn't say anything, and the other Dao monarchs didn't dare to act rashly. Seeing the tragedy of the broken army, it is inevitable that some rabbits and foxes are sad. Once aloft, now the throne is broken. Especially the Taoist Sundering Heaven. His title is very arrogant, but since seeing Wanqing show his true strength, he has no trace of arrogance at all. His strength is okay to bully those half-walkers. As far as the current situation is, he is the weakest among his peers. Relying on which secret treasure in his body, he reached the level of Dao Sovereign. In the outside world, he has been low-key, just an ordinary peak of the great emperor. Since arriving in the temple of Qishan, he has no scruples, and then he fully uses the secret treasure in his body, and his combat power has soared to Dao Sovereign level. This secret treasure came in a wrong way, and he didn't dare to use it outside. He glanced at the defeated army, and finally focused on Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang also felt the gaze, frowned slightly, and looked at Dao Sovereign Tier Heaven. Such blatant gaze is disrespectful to the strong. Even if he is of the same rank, in an unfamiliar situation, such gaze. Jian Wushuang did not give the opponent a good expression. His face was furious. Although he didn't know much about these Dao monarchs, looking and observing it, the Dao monarch tearing heaven was the most inconspicuous among the 5 Dao monarchs. He was not afraid at all. The emperor present could threaten him, as well as the Wanqing Daojun. Besides, Hui Qing's strength is terrible now. Together, even Wanqing is not afraid. The severely wounded Bro Jun clutched his broken chest, crouched and turned his head to look at a few Dao monarchs watching the show, feeling a chill in his heart. A wise life bewildered for a while. If he could seriously hurt Hui Qing, I am afraid that these people will stand on his side, and even besiege Hui Qing together. Even if he does not get the inheritance, it is a good thing to accept the record. But now it was him who was injured, but these people blocked the way. God wants him to die. Handing over the identity token is simply a delusion. He has worked hard all his life in exchange for this strength, and now he can get great fortune in the Temple of Qishan. How can he give up like this? You don't want it. Hui Qing's long stick swept away, her eyes shrank, and a Nai's intent to kill appeared. Although he doesn't like killing, he is not a virgin either. Jian Wushuang nodded to the side. This is the right way. I really don't want to do it. But he also solved the second-ranked Daojun for Hui Qing. Haha, Pajun laughed frantically, straightened up slowly, glanced at several Daojun coldly and mocked. You stinky kid, do you think I will bow to you? The strong. At this moment, the broken army revealed the posture of a strong man. Jian Wushuang frowned. He was too familiar with this momentum, and he had seen many strong people, whether it was Yanxian or Dianxian, or those strong in the Supreme period. They all have the aura of Pajun now. The strong are not divided into ranks. The strong in the Supreme and the strong in the Emperor are the same. They are invincible at the same level. How can they reluctantly bow their heads at the same level, even if they are dead? Let's do it. Let the old man see what else you can do. Breaking the army was not desperately defending at this moment, but took out all the strengths in one, fighting back. If he could escape, he would have escaped long ago. And the other Taoists would not let the tiger go back to the mountain. Good. Hui Qing understood what the other party meant and nodded slowly. This time he didn't use the silver long stick again, but slowly raised his finger. A very random finger. A breath that shook the world, and the earth rushed out. This breath made the quartet world rise, and the deadly primordial star trembled. The dazzling light shot from the fingertips, and a beam of light that ruined the world shot out. The dazzling light made Pajun couldn't open his eyes, biting his scalp and glaring, only to find that he didn't even have the ability to resist. Puff! The powerful light passed through Pojun's body. His entire physical body was wiped out by the light. The divine body was completely shattered, and the origin was like a withered flower, gradually withering. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.